Peace, everyone. How you doing? Welcome to Israel Doctrine Google's Hangout. I'm your host, Carl Albert, and you have now entered into the Hangout. And this show is entitled Black Theologians on the Hermeneutics of Partial and Full Preterism. We got Garfield in the house, we got Sci-Fi in the house, and we got Knowledge in the house. So with that said, I'm going to let Garfield start us off and tell us about, his interaction with preterism.
Yeah, pretty much. Preterism to me, and it's been something that I admired. I've always admired it, even if I don't agree with the Bible per se. I've always felt that this conversation about preterism is good for the black community. And this is what I told William Bell in our conversation. I said to him, I even said it on Debate Talk for you when he was on Debate Talk for you. We need this more than what's being taught, because then it takes us out of the wait and see mode. The wait and see for some Messiah to come back is very damaging to me. This is why I speak out so much against the Bible and what the Hebrew Israelites teach and what traditional Christians teach, because you're allowing us to be poor, to think that being poor is great, to be in the condition that we're in is great, because you know what, there's something greater above. We're not going to take the fancy cars and the money that we have in the bank to heaven, so don't worry about those things on earth. So instead of trying to build up a heaven on earth, we're waiting to go to another heaven. So that was my whole premise. That's what attracted me to preterism, because it said that Jesus already came and all the things have been fulfilled. Whether it's true or not, to me, is irrelevant, but the message is powerful. That's what I feel. And me and William had a bill on preterism, and he said he admired some of the things that I said in the debate with Laurent on Daniel, and he felt he wanted to get some information as far as history and archaeology, because that's my expertise, history. So I don't deal with the fantasy stories and if this is real or not. I deal with what I could prove. So we had a very good conversation, and this was before the debate he had with you, Carl. So we had a conversation. He recorded it. So everything I said was on record. I allowed him to record it and so forth. And some of the information that I actually responded to the brother, he had requested some information from me, and I'm so busy moving around at times, I have so much messages in my inbox, bro. It's kind of hard for me to even respond to anybody. But I'll say this though, preterism to me is more beneficial than the traditional way of Christian teachings. I may not have agreed with how Sci-Fi came off or you came off with preterism as far as the belief part, but trust me, it means more to us psychologically than how the traditional Hebrew Israelites and traditional Christians teach of waiting for Jesus to return. Go ahead, brother.
All right, we'll pass it up to Sci-Fi now. And
I can't believe I gotta agree with Garfield, but I do. Everything he's saying is logical. This time I finally found a square I could agree with Garfield on. I mean, I've seen Garfield in many of the chat rooms. He's pretty how can I say, he's pretty on his square about challenging various oppositions out there. And I remember that day on Debate Talk. We had William Bell on there, and Garfield chimed in, and when he kind of spoke, he was kind of like, he let down his defenses, and he just kind of had a normal conversation. So I'm with him on that. I believe that the so-called scholarship we've been watching for the last few years on like Sidnetta TV, Amin Ra Squad, Debate Talk, and all the other stations, Due to Knowledge, and all the various people, they all have come in with their particular brand of the information, and I'm just really particularly aiming at those that believe in the Bible at this moment. So for everybody that believes in the Bible, you got the 12 tribes, you got the regular Sunday Christian, you got the Mormons, you got all kinds of versions and subversions, and among them all of them is nervous when the preterist steps in town, because the way we deal with the Bible, the way we get into them chapters and start breaking down, Matthew 24 or various places that we go to explain how the Messiah returned in 70 AD. It's usually a new concept to lots of people. Not that the information itself is new or that it hadn't been around for a while. It's just, if you've been studying the Bible from a futuristic perspective, or from a position that you don't even believe in the Bible, but you're just trying to figure out what it's talking about, well, then the preterist is such a different perspective that you're not going to be able to just go Wikipedia it for a day or two and then come back and start posing opposition to it. This is something that when I myself came across of it years ago, I pondered on it for years. I didn't just say, oh, I'm rolling with this. I don't do that about any information. But I pondered on it for years. I tried to debunk it myself first, which is my first set of how I deal with knowledge. If I'm skeptical about it, I first try to debunk it. After I can't debunk it myself, I look for others who can debunk it. I go listen to their arguments. After their argument sounds silly, then I started considering, hey, I'm gonna have to start beginning to get ready to accept it. So, the full understanding, it has not hit what is called the conscious community, as far as where people can analyze what's being brought forth. But it takes care of all of this silliness about black people were put on slave ships and brought to America and Deuteronomy. It just put that in the grave. It puts in all of these myths about the Edomites come from white folks. It just shuts that down. And those that believe that is going to argue. Someone like Tazariak may have an issue with what I'm saying, but I promise you this: if it ever comes to where we go into a major debate, one of them Sonetta exclusives, it ain't gonna be no laughing matter when William Bell come in there and shut it down. I guarantee you.
So, Knowledge, if you want to speak, I'll save myself for last.
Well, peace to everybody. Peace to you, Israel Doctrine. Peace to the brother Sci-Fi and the brother Garfield. How I approach the Bible is probably a little different. Well, not really different. I agree with the premises that the brothers laid down before me. It's just my understanding is a little different. So I definitely want to glean from what the brothers is putting down. So I'll be back taking notes and asking questions.
Okay. So now, people, preterism for me, like I said, it evaded the Hebrew Israelite community, which, I got to throw my disclaimer out there. I'm not really a part of that community. I deal with that community. But through the likes of, like I said, a brother Josh from ABT, Zadok Ben Israel from the Knesset of Jesus, and some brothers that was a part of the camp that I was dealing with at the time, the Israel of God, the House of Jacob, and things of that nature. And it evaded the community. They used the hermeneutics, which is just the methodology of interpreting, biblical texts, especially dealing with eschatology, which is the study of last things. And, the foundation of what I believe today, dealing with the biblical text from, what I started out dealing with in '96, is still solid. I haven't really seen anyone knock it, right? So, I took a big interest in dealing with this Matthew 24 completely fulfilled. If you actually go on my Facebook page, you see I got my first little blueprint or outline of that whole Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21 Olivet discourse that I was coming up with, and how it parallels with Revelation 6. So when I came across Mr. William Bell, which a lot of people in the community, I guess, are starting to become familiar with that name. when I came across him, he inboxed me, and as Garfield says, say he liked some things I was talking about, and he was interested in you know, contacting me and talking about it. So as the history go, we got on the Google Hangout, we went over some information, then we set up a debate in Memphis, did 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, going back and forth over our stance and stuff. And if you're looking for the DVD, you can actually go to All Things Fulfilled and order the DVD. I know everybody don't want to hear what I got to say or what he got to say, but for those that's interested in the dialogue that took place, then you could go to All Things Fulfilled, which is Mr. Bell's website, and find the DVD. I guess if you go through the search engine and type in my name, at least, Carl Albert, you'll find it. So, you know, then I met brothers like, you know, Sci-Fi and Sharp Spear and other brothers out there that, you know, holds that preterist stand. You know, sometimes they full, you know, sometimes they partial. It depends on what subject matters we deal with. But they hold a full preterist stance, as Mr. William Bell do. So, you know, it's been my thing to deal with that. So, like the video I was doing this morning before we got on this one, I was dealing with black liberation eschatology. Seeing that, as Sci-Fi said earlier, how it relates to blacks is always going to be a situation that's going on in our black community, right? How do this relate to us? You know, we talked about Booker T. Washington last night with Dr. Wright. Thanks to the sister for coming through again. And we know Booker T to say, well, I'm not waiting on the heaven of the future. I'm trying to create heaven right here, right now. As the old song say, I got heaven right here on earth. And so what that details is a lot of what goes into or came into existence as Pan-Africanism. But I believe that Pan-Africanism, just the term itself, denotes and goes back to the second Exodus that the Bible speaks about. The first was coming out of Egypt. Everybody knows that story. It was a mixed multitude of black people, right? The Israelites and the Egyptians exiting Egypt, or exiting out of the Kemetic system and going into a new system that was based up on the God of Israel or whatever. So now we are scattered throughout the diaspora, and we are to be gathered up and to exit from all these places that we've been scattered. And Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21 speaks most definitely very detailed about this situation. First, we have to be scattered. That's AD 70 or 70 AD, however you want to say it. And then at some point in time, we got to be gathered. So this is the hermeneutic philosophy that we got to deal with. We got to break down line up on line, precept on precept, here a little, there a little, because the scattering of Israel and the destruction of the temple in 70 AD been prophesied throughout the Bible in many places. He said he's going to make Israel and that temple a byword and a proverb. So with that said, I relinquish the mic. So
Yeah, let me add on by saying something real quickly here. The preterism, as far as you guys saying that it's something that happened 70 AD. I think, let me just make it plain and simple. I think it's good psychologically, but that don't mean I agree with the premise of the stories and how you got to it. I just want to make that clear for anybody that's listening. This is Brother Garfield, and I'm not agreeing with any scriptures and so forth as far as history. I do believe the Bible is a story. It's stories, and I do think changes have been made.
you're breaking up some, Garfield.
I'm breaking up some. Can you hear me right now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, now you.
All right. Let me talk loud while I'm on this line right here. Let me also say something about 70 AD. You see, whenever I look at history, I have to look at what the historians. You about to beat me up on the line, man? Okay. All right. All right. Anyway, no problem. Now, basically, 70 AD is a marking spot for theology as far as Christians and Hebrews. But what I do is I look at what the historians at that time period wrote about at the time period. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the different stories that people wrote about different Jesus figures and messiahs that had something to do with 70 AD. Because the true story is, if you look at Josephus in Wars, he tells you the reason why the war started was because the people were unemployed. They had just finished building up something, and they were unemployed for a couple of years, and the people were dissatisfied. They were dissatisfied with a couple of things. The coins being changed. They weren't allowed to use their Jewish coins anymore. So that was one of the problems. So that's why the preterists, I don't know if the preterists have this argument that the mark of the beast is relating to when Nero and the Romans made a change with the coins. So now that was one of the reasons for the war. Secondly, there are some people that wrote. What the hell is that? Listen, let me mute my mic and come back. This is crazy. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on either. So I guess you can chime in if you want to, Sci-Fi.
Well, I guess you know, a few of the listeners might really, you know, trying to understand what, you know, where is this coming from? You know, like Carl Alberts is a partial preterist. Garfield, he likes the premise but doesn't believe the Bible. And you know, knowledge, he hasn't quite chimed in for us to fully understand what his position is. So, you know, we could lay out a simple, you know, as context, if you want to say. So you have a few areas in the book that you have to make relevant into this conversation. And for those that follow the Bible, and you know, I'm not really speaking to the non-Bible believers at this moment. We won't get nowhere arguing with them. I mean, they can definitely follow along. But I'm gonna point you to Matthew 16, and I'm gonna start at verse 27. He's reading out of the King James version of the text, and it says, "For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works." 28. "Verily I say unto you, there be some standing here which shall not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." Now, for those of you, the key points in this verse, one is that this is Jesus speaking to a crowd. There's a multitude of people, and somebody standing there, in the literal sense, will not taste death until he returns. How is he going to return? He's going to return with his angels, and he shall reward everyone according to his works. That's the judgment. So he's going to come with his angels, and he's going to judge you. And the word or the phrase coming in his kingdom, that's a much deeper understanding that you have to get into the Bible and begin to understand, what does this phrase mean? What would this mean to the Hebrews in the first century who was hearing this phrase? Well, when they say coming in his kingdom, the Son of Man coming in his kingdom, that's coming in his glory. So therefore, this is what Jesus is telling them, is that I'm going to return. And I'm going to come in my kingdom, and some of you shall not taste death. Okay, now, if you're a partial preterist like Carl, you can, you know, armchair gymnastic that away from 70 AD, you know, using a few fancy words, until a full preterist comes along And the full preterist is going to nail you to the cross with this one. Because in understanding it from a full preterist position, we have to locate who was alive that could have possibly been standing there at that time. You want to get that, Carl?
Nah, that's just it's 9 o'clock.
Oh, it's time to get it, huh? Okay. Well,
Yeah.
But basically, Carl, I'm just laying out this little simple premise just for the viewers to kind of begin to understand where they coming from, right? Like, we got to understand, why are you making these claims? What verses are you using? Which breakdown are you coming with to come to this point? And, me studying this for years, I've fully vetted all of this. I fully did my research and come to my conclusion. And in this instance particular here, it's like what you're trying to establish in this verse is who is there? Who is there when he returns, right? So we look at 70 AD, and we understand that at this particular moment, this is somewhere within Jesus's time. This is right before he would be crucified. So we definitely know that this was only within 40 years. So this was within 40-year period by the time 70 AD would come. So therefore, many of those people could have still been alive, which would make him a truth teller in that sense. But to the people who are against the preterist perspective, they often,
full preterist.
I understand that, Carl. When I say a preterist, that's what I mean. If I mean any other, I'll add the word partial. But I mean full preterist when I say the word preterist. And but in that respect, a full preterist position, if you're not a full preterist, you run to, let's say, what is the often verse I hear them run to? They go to when Jesus is on the Mount Transfigurations. Yeah, that's where they like to go. And they like to throw this verse as this verse is referring to Jesus in the Transfiguration on the mountain when he sees Elijah and then come back. This is the simple go-to for that. And it just doesn't work, because then I back this entire verse up with the entire chapter of Matthew 24, where it gets into more details, where Jesus is explaining to his disciples in private the amount of things that need to occur before the end comes. I'm able to match all of this up. And I guess we're not really here today to get super deep into all of these verses, but that's just a simple breakdown that a preterist will utilize to establish the point.
Okay. What verses was that again for anybody that missed them?
That was Matthew 16, 27 through 28.
So let's look at those verses again. For those that may have missed it, open your book up again. Take a little notes. We're going to deal with it a little bit, but not in its totality, right? So 27, for the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, right? So is this figurative or literal speech is what we got to deal with, because we know the Bible speaks in literal and figurative language, right? So
but to be accurate, Carl, just let me add this in the figure of speech. The Bible is read four ways. It's read literally, it's read allegorically, it's read comparatively, and it's read metaphysically. This is a Jewish breakdown that is well understood.
Most definitely. I just deal with two, figurative and literally, because allegorically and metaphysically is just a figurative way of speaking.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that in for the serious students who just want to step one step ahead and understanding, because the way we got to deal with this is with all four ways of understanding the text. And this is known in the study world as the paradish.
Right. That's the academic way of dealing with it. The common way, the common man way, which most people know I love more than anything, is to deal with it literally and figuratively. And we can do the comparative. That's what the line. That's what the line up on line here a little, there a little. It's all about comparing other texts with text to build a foundation of 2 or 3 witnesses from a prophet or apostle perspective, which, you know, the church is built up on the chief cornerstone, Christ being that, and the prophets and apostles. So here a little, there a little, comparing what they're talking about in detail and whether the conversation is literal or figurative language. So in dealing with this and understanding the hermeneutics one have to use, or the methodology, is you have to question if Jesus speaking literally or figuratively within the context of everything we read. And so when he say, for the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he shall reward every man according to his works, we have to either say one or the other. But right here we dealing with a situation where, you know, it's 2 things being talking about, right? So in 28 it said, verily I say unto you, there shall be some standing here, right, which shall not taste death. Now, death carried 3 different viewpoints, and hopefully we can agree, or if we disagree, then we can talk about it a little bit. But the physical death, which is the physical body going back to the dust of the ground, is one. The metaphysical death, as he just spoke about, using metaphysicals, language is basically figurative speech, right? Is the carnal mind and the spiritual mind. When you become carnal mind, is death, and to be spiritual mind, it is life, because the carnal mind is enmity against God and cannot be subject to the law of God. So when Adam and Eve looked up on the tree, where Eve looked up on the tree and took it in and gave to her husband also, they went into a carnal mind state, and then they see and knew that they was naked. This lets you know that it's dealing with a physicality now, because before then they seen things in a different point of view. So now that's a mental death, to go to the carnal mind, and to come out of the carnal mind is a spiritual awakening. And then another form of death is called the lake of fire, which is called the second death, right? Comparative to the first, because you go to the dust of the ground, but in the second death you get tossed in the ground, called the lake of fire. We see this in Isaiah 66, where it say people will come up to Jerusalem and look over and see the carcasses of those that transgressed or receive the reward that they shall receive according to their works, right? See, their reward is the lake of fire. So at this point, this is what we got to deal with. In what aspect is he talking about when he say taste death? Till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So whether he came in 70 AD or he's to come in the future, right? You have to deal with the death, right, that he's talking about. Is he talking literal? Is he talking figurative? Or is he talking the physical, the lake of fire, or the mental? These are the hermeneutics, or the methodologies in which breaking down the text has to come about. So I'll leave it there.
Well, you got to focus on the word that he's not talking about that you're going to be dead. He said that you shall not taste of death, meaning that you won't be nowhere near dead. You won't be nowhere near a lake of fire. You won't be nowhere near the ground. This won't be nowhere near a literal death, nowhere near a physical death. I mean, a metaphysical death, nowhere near an allegorical death. You're not even gonna taste it till you see him coming back. This is what's so clear. This is why I took this position, because once it's properly pointed out, it's not hard to understand. Now, the question is, what is your meaning? of which shall not taste of death. What is taste of death? What is that referring to?
Well, we know that in 1 Corinthians 15 that it say, death, where's thou sting, O grave, where's thou, victory and stuff. So, but if you look at it right here in Matthew 16 and just go up to verse 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or we'll go to 20. He said, then charged he his disciples that they should tell no man that he was Jesus the Christ. From that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciple how that he must go unto Jerusalem and suffer many things of the elders of the chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again the third day. And Peter took him and began to rebuke him, saying, be it far from thee, Lord, this shall not be unto thee. But he turned and said unto Peter, get thee behind me, Satan, thou art an offense unto me, for thou servest not the things that be of God, but those things that be of man, right? Then said Jesus unto his disciple, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. So now the cross in Jesus' case, or the cup that he had to drink from, was death, physical death, and be raised the third day. So this giving us a context of when we get down to 27 and 28. For whosoever save his life shall lose his life. We know that at the same time Peter denied Christ thrice. He saved his life, but at the same time he lost his life, because when Jesus came back, he told him, feed my sheep, which was the cross he had to bear, right? And we believe that Peter did die at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it said, for what, hold up, should lose his life, for what is a man profit, right? If he should gain the whole world and lose his soul, or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Now, Genesis 2 and 7 said Adam became a living soul. The kapat, to say what he's made of, is the dust of the ground and the breath of life, which transform into a living soul. So I would say the body, or your living soul, your being, right? So now he's saying, if you try to gain the whole world, you will lose your soul, right? And what would you give in exchange for it? For the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then shall he reward every man according to his works. Well, this takes us back to Ecclesiastes 12, 13, and 14. It said the conclusion of the whole matter is to fear God, keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. And when he come, he gonna, reward every man according to the secret things, whether they be good or they be evil, right? So that's when he come. So like I said, the death that he's talking about cannot be the physical death here if he's telling people to take up their cross. Meaning that, as he tell them in Matthew 24, some of you, they should throw out of the synagogues, they should kill, and they should do this, and they should do that. Right?
Hey, Israel, are you finished? I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
Right, one sec. Some of them same people that stood there in that generation, I did not see that generation in this text, but I heard you state this generation should not pass. What verse was that, Sci-Fi?
Well, when I was talking about, I said that there be some standing here which shall not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So basically, Jesus is saying, I'll be back before the last of you in this crowd should die.
So would you agree that the second death is something that none of us can taste until Jesus come back and give us our reward for our, works, whether they be good or evil?
Second death? No, you don't die but once.
Well, do you know the phraseology and the term second death exists in the Bible?
Yeah, because I can refer to death as being ignorant. And so whenever you're ignorant, that's death. And when you have illumination, light, then you have life. It's why Jesus told the woman at the well, if you drink of my water is abundance and ever-flowing waters, the water of life. This was the knowledge he was speaking of.
Hey, excuse me 1 second, brothers. I'm gonna jump off because my battery's at 9%. When I get back to the house, I'm gonna come back in. All right?
Okay.
All right.
And if anybody's out there listening or whatever, and you want to kind of chime in, hit me up on Facebook at Israel Doctrine. That's facebook.com/Israel Doctrine. But go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I mean, we can move to a more illustrated verse. I just gave that first one as a context. This really gets in detail in Matthew 24.
Okay, we can do that, but what I was most definitely doing is trying to show them the methodology of the hermeneutics in dealing with this from a literal and figurative standpoint, which always got to be questioned when you read the text. Is he talking literal or is he talking figurative here? This is the same thing when he said,
I got you. I understand now.
Yeah,
okay.
When he said, eat my flesh and drink my blood, do we take that literally? Do we take it?
I got you. Okay, so then in that aspect, this is coming at you in a couple of forms. One, this is literal. He is going to return. Now, is the return what you might imagine, like a black man with an afro and red eyes, according to the Hebrews, walking down the street or coming back, and the sky crack and 144,000 angels come flying out the sky? No, that's not what's going to happen. In that aspect of how they preach, that never happened. That will never happen. But in the aspect of how it happened, it was symbolic in the form of real things. So what we teach is that those angels that were stomping upon Jerusalem in 70 AD, in the physical, it was the army of Rome. But in the symbolic sense, the army of Rome were the angels. As God said, he could use what he will to do his will. He can use anything he chooses to commit his will. So the one leading the army was the prince of the king. So the prince was Titus, and the king, this is symbolic. This is not the literal aspect. This is the symbolic sense. The army, the angel of armies, is the army of Rome. The prince is Tacitus leading the army. And the one who sent the prince was the king. That was Vespucian, the king of the Roman Empire. Now, that's the symbolical sense. The metaphysical sense is that God provoked this entire situation. He would have the king to descend upon Jerusalem and destroy it. And he used the Roman army. So this is how we break that down. And I can get into the 10 horns prophesied by Daniel to explain how Vespucian, when he took the seat, he was the 10th ruler. And we can go on and on. So some of these things, this concept is pretty vast. I mean, you really have to sit down and analyze everything before you just say to yourself, oh, this just sounds ridiculous. You really have to sit down and analyze everything that's being said. And you can't take a foolish standpoint, because if you get in a ring with your Bible and your breakdown against the preterist who did his homework, you're going to be beaten up so bad that you won't be laughing that day.
Yeah, I would agree. Some people out here is not even ready. That's why a lot of people duck the preterist community. But as you know, I embrace the preterist community. I take it as a holy challenge to debunk the fullness that it has been, you know, talked about from the preterist community. So yeah, I'll forewarn y'all, you don't want to get in the ring with a.
I mean, Carl, you have definitely tackled and dealt with it. I mean, you almost, I think, did a 24-hour, I mean, a 48-hour rumble in the jungle, and in several scrimmages. And you know, I have to give you some kudos for being a stiff component. I mean, a stiff competition. You know what I mean? And maybe they could take lessons by going to watch, you know, the battles you've had with the preterist perspective. I mean, this is not play games. This is not, oh, they just came out of nowhere. The only reason why majority of the people are not familiar with the phrase or the understanding is because it's popularity. The Bible never said that many were going to follow the truth.
Well, the thing is, most people that just stick with the Bible and don't deal from an academic standpoint would never see the word preterist in the Bible. The hermeneutics is there. The methodology of dealing with the Bible from both perspectives are there. But the terminology you won't find in the Bible. That's like finding the term Trinity. You won't find that in the Bible. But the hermeneutics that people use or the methodology to come about with this concept is in the Bible. Communism, you won't find that word in the Bible, but people will go to Acts 2 and Acts 4 and they will come up out of there with communism. And so these are modern terms for particular actions that then took place. Even the conversation of the bodies rising out of the dust of the ground and those living, physical living beings that hasn't tasted death will rise with those that come out of the ground and meet Christ in the air, what they call the rapture. See, the concept is in there. The methodology, how to deal with it, is in there. But the way that they put a terminology on it sometimes corrupts, you know, the simplicity of the text. Not to say that that's the situation with preterism, but the term itself being newly introduced to the black community mostly. It's some blacks that knew about it, as you yourself and William Bell and others have. But amongst black theologians, is most definitely like, wow, what is this? And how do this, you know, play a role in our community? And how should we deal with it? Is most definitely a new concept amongst black theologians. So me, myself, being a theologian, one that studies God and, you know, his in and out his daily activity amongst our people and others, you know, it was, like I said, it was only my duty and honor to, you know, jump in the ring, because somebody got to deal with it. You know, somebody got to show this is either unsound or should be considered, you know, as something sound.
Well, Carl, I think we should just at least read the definition of preterism so people understand. No one is expecting to read this word in the Bible. This word is a description of how one studies the Bible. You know what I mean? So a preterist holds that the contents of Revelations constitutes a prophecy of the events that were fulfilled in the first century. They believe that dating the book of Revelations is of a vital importance, and that it was written before the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. So the preterist perspective, it just simply means that the prophecy, this is full preterism, is that the prophecy had been fulfilled by 70 AD, every prophecy in the book. So the easiest way to debunk a full preterist is by simply proving from a biblical perspective one prophecy that has not been fulfilled. And if you do that, then you rolling with Carl. You're partial preterist, and you feel like you found a prophecy that has not been fulfilled. So it sounds simple to do if you want to debunk the perspective of a preterist. Is just find one that you could prove that has not been fulfilled. And then once upon showing that, then the full preterist will explain to you how it has been fulfilled.
Can you see what I posted on the side?
Yes.
Could you please read that?
Oh, sure. The word preterism is a form of Latin. Is prawer. I don't know how to pronounce that. P-R-A-E, meaning before, and ire, to go, before to go, whose past participles is preteritus, meaning the subject has gone past. Yes, that has been fulfilled.
Right. So
that's a nice breakdown, and more, deep breakdown.
Yeah, I go to websites and different stuff and do my research.
Get it in. Yeah,
know thyself and thou competition.
So I mean, this is just simple, like, for the most part, what you're doing is just good, Carl, in general. I mean, if people want to feel like, hey, that's some way out leftist teaching of the Bible, then, by all means, hit us up, and, we can hit it on we can do the Nas Radio, we can do Know the Ledge, we can do Sinetta TV, we can do Debate Talk. It doesn't matter. Pick the platform, have a simple discussion, and tear it apart. I promise you, we prepared for any questions they could pose, or any debate they have, or conclusion they come to.
Yeah. So let me see if this guy up this morning, because I don't know exactly how long we're gonna go with just us here and stuff. We need some more people to join the convo.
To provoke.
Yeah, to provoke more discourse. Not to provoke ignorance, but just to provoke more discourse.
Yeah.
But okay, could you give them a quick little breakdown of how you see this tying into Pan-Africanism and your group, the Fraternal Order of Pan-Africanism?
Okay, now I'm glad you asked that, because I don't want them to be confused as to understanding that what we do at the Fraternal Order of Pan-African is we're teaching the history of how Pan-African came to be, how the red, black, and green flag came to be. We're not suggesting that anyone has to accept Christianity or become a Christian in any type of way to be a Pan-African or to represent the red, black, and green. That's not what we're stating. We're just simply interjecting that for those who would be against Christians and represent the red, black, and green, or Pan-Africanism, needs to understand where and who gave it to you. So we just simply show the history, and we state the fact that Pan-African was born out the construct of a Christian group with the Christian ideologies placed into its structure. And so we land that back. We can go as far back as Edward Blyden, who sometimes is contributed as the father of Pan-African. And then he himself says, but if you want to see an example of Pan-Africanism, that you should look to Booker T. Washington. And Booker T. Washington became a Christian, started a school to uplift black folks, as we so elegantly heard about the making of a Pan-African on your show yesterday, Carl. And then Booker T would inspire Marcus Garvey, who would come along with this same Christian belief system and then inspire black folks to join together under a nationality and a nation, and he gave them a flag because the white folks considered black people coons and said that only the coon is without a flag. And so he said, well, you know what? They're right. We don't have a flag. Let's get a flag. And put a flag up. But the flag did not take away the ideology. The flag is not the ideology. The ideology is the flag, but the flag is not the ideology in the sense that the ideology was first, and then the flag came. So the flag is just a representation. So a lot of times when I see people loving to represent red, black, and green, which is a cool thing, I sometimes I see the wrong images mixed together. I see them having various images where when you know these people and you know their ideologies, that they don't mix. You can't blend in ideologies. It doesn't say that, you know, black folks aren't cool with other black people who have different ideologies. It's just under the banner of red, black, and green, it is placed into a specific context of who is down with it and who is not. So we're just simply giving the history on how it was how.
What's up, G Conscious?
What's going on, bro?
How you doing? We talking black theologians. Black theologians on the hermeneutics of partial and full preterism.
And Pan-African.
What's going on, peace to you brothers on the panel?
What's up, G? You sound like you fresh. You just getting up, brother.
Yeah, I just got up, brother.
You got up and got right to it, huh? That's how you get it.
Yeah, buddy.
So, what's your relationship and your understanding of preterism, partial, full? You know, LaRon G. Campbell was at the debate with Mr. William Bell. You know, he could give you a little insight on that debate or whatever it is he chooses to talk about. But if you got some time and you can spare some knowledge, please do so.
I think that when you look at preterism, you have to be able to decipher, well, first off, if it's full, you know what I'm saying, if you're dealing with full preterism, then you saying everything is basically fulfilled in the text, which I just agree with that, Now, if you're looking at it from a standpoint, if you're dealing with Matthew 24, either Luke, then you have to decipher some of the questions that was asked there and look at it, to where Jesus is talking about certain aspects, he's talking to certain people. Then again, he's going into, talking about things in the future, throughout both chapters. I think some questions was asked to him, about the end times, also about the 70 AD event, so he's dealing with in and out on what things should happen, during the end times and also during 70 AD, so also what was going to happen to some of the disciples as well, and also what was going to happen to some of the people that was of that day to be that also were in the day of 70 AD, also in the future time, when we have also tribulations just as well. That's my standpoint on it, because if you ever look at some of the prophecies within the Old within the Old Testament and Isaiah and the book of Elijah, all of these guys are giving prophecies that happen immediate, at that time, and then also future prophecies. So Christ is basically doing the same thing, and he's basically telling you things that's synonymous with immediate immediate judgments and also future judgments. Now, if you say that prophecy has all been fulfilled, then you will have to deal with Revelations when it deals with, it says in, it said,
Keep talking. Somebody just calling me.
yeah, it says in Revelations, it says in Revelations that up under the seventh trumpet, a mystery is revealed, and up under that mystery, it says that the kingdoms of this world have become the kingdoms of our Lord, and we know right now that that has not took place. Abraham them and also Israel and was promised a physical realm, and not only that is when Adam sinned, he was promised dominion back to his physical realm, where he was promised a redeemer, and that redeemer for his seed, and that was for a physical realm, as we see, because he fell in a physical state. So therefore, he was promised a redeemer in a physical realm. So the kingdoms of this world have not become the kingdoms of our Lord physically. All sin has not been put away physically. All rebels have not been put away physically. And also the last enemy, which is death, have not been defeated yet. So when we look at that, you would have to come back and explain a lot of those things if you're saying that you are a full preterist.
Most definitely. Okay. Couple of a couple of points that you made that you probably just kind of misquote here. One, you say that God promised that He was going to restore the kingdom of heaven in the physical. Is that was your premise?
Yes, yeah, because when you look at the word Eden there, it means paradise. So when the Most High created in the times of Adam, he was extending, making an extension of his heavenly realm and on upon earth. So therefore, that was physicality. So when man sinned, he took man from the state of paradise into a state of the earthly realm, which is the Hebrew word the Ra, that means plagues and nauseum and calamity due to the fact that man chose to eat from the tree of knowledge. So this came into his world, and therefore that heavenly bliss or that paradise began to be a word of chaos. So I definitely have to agree that Adam was promised the second Adam, which is Christ. He's the one who restores that dominion back into Adam.
Okay, well, in Acts 17:24, it states that God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and the earth, and does not live in the temples built by human hands. Now, the question is, what is this temple that's not built by human hands? See, the restoration of Jerusalem, which is where the temple was knocked down, will be rebuilt. But the next time it gets rebuilt, it won't be built by human hands, meaning that the temple is going to be spiritual. And so now your body became that temple. When you were given the Spirit dwells in the temple inside of you. And so the New Jerusalem is the spirit, the spiritual Jerusalem. And that's how we, lay the foundation on the rebuilding of the temple. The new temple is a spiritual temple.
Yeah,
Well,
I go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
go ahead. You got it.
Well, I definitely have to say that I disagree with that, because when you look at when Moses was admonished to make a temple after the pattern which the Most High had showed him. Now we know that when Isaiah hit the forefront and he was in chapter 6:1, he became before the Lord. He became in the Lord's temple, in the Lord's throne room, which is patterned after the same temple which Moses was admonished to build himself. Now, when we look at it, Isaiah comes before the Most High, and the first thing the angel of the Lord did was, because he said he was unclean, was grabbed from the altar a pair of thongs that Israel used, and we can search those, whether we want to look at archaeology or whether we want to look at type of pictures that they use for the thongs to pick up the coal, and he took it and he placed it on Isaiah's tongue, and he burned. He placed it on Isaiah's tongue. Isaiah was made to be clean, um, to be clean. Now we know that in Israel, when they did this at this time, we know that the Israel, the blood was offered on the, the blood was offered on the altar. The animals was offered on the altar, so we know that cleanliness was in those coals of fire just as well, because it symbolized that you was washed basically by the offering, or you was cleansed through the offering as an atonement, which foreshadowed Christ. So when we look at the whole thing, there will be a literal temple just as well, because there are dimensions, and there's also a lot of those things
Can you give me the verse where that's stated?
in Zechariah,
Do you know
the book of Zechariah. I'm not sure what verse, but I know what chapter, but I know in the book of Zechariah it talks about what you call a temple being built then just as well, which we would say would be probably the fourth temple, so to speak.
so do you disagree with let's say I'm on Acts 7? No. Yeah, Acts 7 and 48. I'll go back a little bit so you can get the context of it. Um, I'll go back to 44, Acts 7 and 44. It says, our ancestors had the tabernacle of the covenant and the law with them in the wilderness, and it had been made as God directed Moses, according to the pattern he had seen. After receiving the tabernacle, our ancestors under Joshua brought it with them when they took the land from the nation God drove out before them. It remains in the land until the time of David, who enjoyed God's favor and asked that he might provide a dwelling place for God of Jacob. But it was Solomon who built his house for him. However, the Most High does not live in houses made by human hands. As the prophet says, heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. What kind of house will you build for me? Oh, where is my resting place be? Has not my hand made all these things? So how do you get around that?
Well, let's take a well. If y'all want to keep on, go ahead.
No, I just, I'm not trying to put him under pressure. I know he wasn't just all the way prepared. I'm just asking general questions. You don't have to be
Well,
precise.
it's not really no pressure. Like, once again, when the Most High comes, we see first off that when he takes he says the first thing Jesus Christ says was the kingdom of God is at hand, right? He talks about the kingdom of God being within man just as well, but for the most part, it's because the kingdom of God has to be established in the hearts of man spiritually, and then physically, that's when the takeover comes and happens. And we look at the first thing we see in Revelations is a descent coming down from heaven, dealing with the kingdom of God coming to earth, Jerusalem coming to earth, which means that now this is the concept of the extension of heaven on earth, or paradise on earth, which Adam himself was that extension before he fell. And then when he fell, that extension was taken away. So we see that during the time of Moses, when he was told to admonish these things, he's patterning these things once again after the things that are in heaven. The Hebrew usage there is very important when you look at that, because the patterns there is the express image of those things. So therefore, when heaven is descending upon earth, that is information that's given to us now that the same thing that we see on this earth, I mean in heaven, is going to be on earth now. And so, that kingdom or that Jerusalem is something that the Most High or Christ has went to go prepare for man. That's going to be descended upon the earth as well.
Okay, now I know, I'm not sure, what verses you reading from, but in Matthew 24, as you spoke of a moment ago, Jesus is with his disciples. He runs off a list of things that has to take place before the ending shall be. And when you get down to verse 33 in Matthew 24, it reads, "So likewise, ye, when ye shall see all these things," everything it spoke of, "know that it is near, even at the door. And verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled." What is this generation shall not pass? What is this generation that he's speaking of?
Where you at in Matthew what? 24?
I'm in Matthew 24, verse 33. 33 and 34. And the particular verse is Matthew 24, verse 34. "Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled."
Well, now the particular this is exactly what he's talking about. Is he talking before that statement or he talking after that statement? This is
What
two
what I'm
parts.
saying what I'm saying is, at the beginning, they asked him a question up in verse 3. They say, "And he sat upon the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came to him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world?"
Correct.
And Jesus answers. And in his answer, he runs off a multitude of things. When you get to the end of that list of things, he concludes it with, "And verily I say unto you," in verse 34, "this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled." What things? The things he spoke about prior to the statement.
Right, but it's a little bit more complex than what we're saying, because in verse 2 it's saying Jesus said unto them, "See ye not all these things?" So now that's the same phraseology. See,
No, you
this
reading it wrong. You reading it wrong.
I'm just saying.
Start at 1 and understand what he's
Okay,
talking.
we started one. It said, "And Jesus went out and departed from the temple." So we know what the scenery is, the temple. "And his
Yeah,
disciples came to him for to show him the building of the temple." So this
right,
the conversation, the temple, right? "And Jesus said unto them, See ye not all these things?"
right.
All these things that you talking about, which is the initiation of the conversation. "Verily I say unto you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be torn down," right?
Talking about the temple.
Right. So now he's very specific. At this point, we know that they are focusing on the temple, and
Okay,
this is
real quick. I want to know what G Conscious feel uh, uh, that happened. When did all those stones not be left upon another?
everybody know that's 7 AD.
I'm just asking
Yeah,
you.
that's 70 AD. But
Okay,
once
so
again,
now, no,
one,
I'm just establishing that we are now knowing that that particular prophecy is going to be fulfilled in 70 AD.
but hold on. Before
I'm
you
not
do
saying
that, real
all of
quick,
them. I'm not
hold on.
saying all of them. I'm just
Okay, yeah, but
that one.
let me express something real quick. Now remember,
Hmm.
he's dealing with when shall these things be? When is the time of the end and the time of your coming?
Hmm.
Hold
So
up. Before we go there, because y'all cut me, I want to make sure that it's laid down correct.
Get it, then.
Because what's going on here is, once again, they come to him talking about the temple. Anything else is added information, but we know the subject is truly about the temple, and now we got
It's not about the temple, Carl. In verse 3, it's about the end of the world.
Listen. If I come to you talking about my money, but yet we start talking about a car or anything else, my initial conversation and what I really come to talk to you about is my money. I don't care if we talk about
direct question, Carl. They ask a direct. We don't have to guess because
this is what. Hold up. Listen to the question though. Let's go to 3. And as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples, right, came unto him privately, saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be?" Right? He just said, "See ye not all these things?" And he said, "One stone should not be left upon another." So now they asking him, "When shall these things be?" That's what they're talking about.
Are you going to finish the verse?
Right, but now it's addition to the conversation.
Okay.
Here go the addition, which the word "and" shows you that it's a conjunction. It's tying something else into the conversation.
Okay.
What shall be the sign of thou coming in the end of the world? That's 2 other questions, or you can even say they parallel one question. But at the same time, the conversation still is about the temple, and they threw some other stuff in there that he got to talk about too.
So he's going to talk about everything, right? All the questions, he's going to answer all of them, right?
Correct.
All right. Do you want to get into each one, or you just want to, roll to 34?
34. Let's go to 34.
Okay.
Right? He said, "Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled."
Now tell me what this generation is.
Right, but look, if we just deal with line upon line, right, we know that he said, "You see all these things," and now we see him saying, "Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass till all these things be fulfilled." So now I know you saying, well, he talked about a whole lot in this conversation, but he started off talking about, you see all these things, and now he's going again to say all these things should not be fulfilled, and right?
Yeah, we call that hopscotching and pop locking.
You can call it whatever you want. You can come up with many terms and even get them patent or copyright, but you only make money off the terms.
Right.
So now let's deal with this, because once again you have a portion of things before and a portion of things after. So now when he starts going into this, he says in 32, "Now learn the parable of the fig tree. When his branches is yet tender and put it forth leaves, ye know that the summer is not." Once again, if we go up into the rest of the conversation, you will see he said all these should happen, and these are the beginning of sorrows, but the end is not yet. Meaning it's not, but not yet. We can even go to the parallel chapters, which is Mark 13 and Luke 21, right? So 33, he says, "So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the door." Right?
I'm right. I'm still with you.
So now, that's when the 34 come in. "Verily I say unto you, this generation should not pass till all these things be fulfilled." Right? Is he saying now heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word should not pass away? What he said?
What that mean? What that mean?
What do it mean?
Yeah, like heaven and earth is going to pass away, but his word is not.
At this point, we got to say, is he speaking literally or figuratively?
He's speaking literally.
In what aspect?
The thing is, you got to understand what heaven and earth mean.
Right, meaning he's speaking figuratively
about
something to take place literally, right?
No, he's saying that heaven and earth will pass away.
So are we talking about the earth? If I go outside now and pull up some dirt, that would be considered earth, right?
No. You know,
you said no.
Yeah, I said no. The same.
If I go outside and pull up a patch of ground,
you're asking questions and you're not allowing me to answer.
Well, I'm reasoning with you, so when you say no, I gotta read the question.
I'm trying to answer. I'm trying to give an explanation, since you're not gonna tell us what heaven and earth mean.
I mean, Earth is out there. That's why I'm trying to figure if we talking
I'm
literal.
telling you that that's not what it means. Now I'm trying to give you the literal meaning of it, not the figurative meaning of it, but the
Okay,
literal meaning of it.
so I want to hear this.
I know you do, because this is where you go from a partial to a full.
Nah, because the Earth is the Earth,
Okay,
literally.
understand that heaven is where God dwells, correct?
I don't know. You talking literally or figuratively?
However you perceive it.
Well, I can't answer that because I don't know in which context we talking.
Okay, G conscious. Is heaven where God dwells?
Well, most definitely.
All right. That's how we get to an end point, by understanding.
Well,
Now,
the Bible speak on three heavens. So which heaven are you talking about? See, it goes deeper than a
we're
simple.
not on the Carl. I'm not on the Carl Albert understanding of the Bible. I mean, I'm not taking away your position, but I don't know nothing about no three heavens that
Well,
you talking about.
well.
I know that this is not talking about stars in the sky or dirt on the ground.
Well, when number one, let me show you what I'm talking about. Just a quick example in 31, it said, "And he shall send his angels," as we talked about his angels in Matthew 16, right? It said, "And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet," which LaRon spoke about earlier, "and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds and from one end of heaven to the other end." So, if he gonna gather his elect from heaven, now, when we talk about heaven and earth down here, are they synonymous with each other, or are they two different type of heavens being talked about? That's why I said this is complex in the methodology and the hermeneutics to
Let me
use.
just say it outright, Carl, and then we can get into, because this is part of the, the really understanding the perspective of the preterist. The heaven and the earth are representation of a city and the people. So what we teach is that the heaven is Jerusalem. I can go all through the Bible to establish that. We also teach that earth is a representation of the people in Jerusalem, or the people of God is earth. I can use various verses where heaven and earth appears in the Bible to establish that premise all through the Bible. I can keep going. If you pull up every verse where heaven and earth is mentioned, and analyze that verse, I can establish with those verses that he's referring to a people and a city. So Jesus is saying that heaven and earth will pass away, but my word will not. So the word will remain, but heaven and earth will be gone. So what's gone? He destroyed the city and he destroyed the people. And all of this happened in 70 AD. This is our perspective. Now I can understand that you're not accepting it on this particular diatribe we're having, because we're not getting extensive about it. We're just introducing to establish the positions.
Right. I
But
mean, it's cool to do that, but the premise that I was most definitely dealing with is hermeneutics and the methodology, and that's why I spoke earlier about literal and figurative speech. When you go to even the allegorical perspective that's in Genesis, and he started talking about the creation of the heaven and the earth, right? He divided the firmament from the firmament, and then that firmament was called heaven. Then he divided the firmament from the firmament, and that firmament was called heaven. Then he divided the waters and brought forth the earth. So that, to me, even though it's in the allegorical story, is literal representation of what heaven and earth is. So now, as I asked you before we went into it, are you talking figurative or literally? Then the people, yes, you can say they're or compare them to the earth in a figurative language, but I am not truly the earth. I am made of the earth, the dust of the ground, as I said before. If I go outside and put up a patch of the ground, will I be pulling up some earth? Yes, I will
okay,
be toiling the earth or whatever. That is literal. The figurative language leads us to some other understanding. But if we deal literally, then we only can have one understanding of what the earth is.
Okay, so the Greek word is uranos. This is the word for heaven in the verse, right? So in the context of the Hebrew mindset or the Jewish mindset of the day, right? It was not misunderstood that God dwells in heaven, and heaven is considered the city of Jerusalem. This is the dwelling place of God.
Are you sure that that's the understanding one should have?
Okay, let me ask you a question. Where did Moses have to go to talk to God?
Mount Sinai.
Okay, that was one place. God appeared to him in a burning bush, right?
Where
I mean, that's what you're referring to when he went on the mountain.
in the burning bush, he was speaking to an angel that was speaking for God.
Okay,
On Mount
now when he
Sinai,
built,
he was
question.
speaking to God himself. As we
Okay,
can see, if you go to Exodus 20, it said God appeared on that mountain.
okay, I got you, Carl. I got you. Now, when he built the tent temple, right?
Right. He built
You
it.
know what I'm talking about? Okay,
He built it.
so in the middle of the tent temple,
Yeah,
he
tent.
put
Mercy seat. Ark
huh?
of the Covenant. Ark of the Covenant mercy seat.
Okay, so in the room where the Ark of Covenant, this is where God would have Moses come and speak to him. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. God is in that one spot where he will appear. I'm not saying he's not omnipresent and he can't be everywhere. I'm saying to appear to Moses, he will appear here, right? That's why you had to be of a certain um, caliber to enter into the Ark of the Covenant. Correct?
Yeah, the veil of the temple.
Okay. So does the Bible state that whenever you're in the presence of God, where are you?
I mean, you're in the presence of God.
Where are you?
I don't know what. I don't. You in the presence of God. That's as far as I go with it.
That's as far as you go. Let me get a verse for you then, so we can take you a little further. Um, One moment.
I mean, you could tell us some. Why you?
Okay, I got you. I would, I just wanted to give a specific verse, but it's cool. But basically, whenever you're in the presence of God, you are in heaven at that moment in the presence of God. God dwells in heaven, and to be in the presence and to be in the presence of God is to be in heaven, and to be out of the presence of God is to be in hell somewhere. So this is the understanding. I mean, it's a really long breakdown of a lot of information
I mean, LeBron probably would agree with you on that. That he.
I mean, I can establish it. See, that's the thing here, Carl, is we just having a little easy dialogue just to introduce the concept.
I
If you would
and
have
I just
called
think
me,
LeBron will probably agree with you on that because he see things in that same perspective. That's all.
okay. So I'm saying if you would have called me to say, okay, we want you to come in here and fully establish the position, I would have got all my notes and verses and breakdowns so that we could get into it fully, and I can pull up every verse in the Bible to establish each premise. But I could walk through this chapter 24 in Matthew on every prophecy and establish it in the Bible and in history, both places.
Not saying that you can't. I'm just. I mean,
No,
that's.
I know that, Carl. I'm only stating what, see, you and I, Carl, understand. I'm just making these statements so that your viewer can get an idea where it's coming from. That's
Yeah,
all. I'm
but
just,
but at the
trying to
same
see.
time, all I'm doing is establishing what the world know and why they so confused with the Bible. It
Right.
speaks literally, it speaks figuratively. As you say, Jerusalem is the people and the city. Israel is the people and the city. Both of them carry the name. So if he say he's dwelling in Jerusalem, he could be dwelling in the church, the people, the temple. He don't have to be dwelling in a landmass known as Jerusalem, but the people that's also called Jerusalem. So these
Well,
type of things,
prior to 70 A.D., there was a physical Jerusalem, and when the high priest went to Jerusalem and went into the temple, only a high priest could enter the sanction of God, where God dwells, where he communicates with the high priest. But
yeah.
after the temple was destroyed, then that was no longer the case.
Hey, I'm back, just to let you guys know. All right, I'll listen and try to chime in a few.
Yeah. So the complexity of dealing with the Bible and just the hermeneutics or the methodology how to deal with it is you got to be able to, number one, recognize if you're talking about literal things or figurative things and how that all plays out in understanding the depth of the text. Like when I say death, if death is more than one thing, then when it speaks on death, then how do you discern if it's speaking about the literal or the figurative aspect of death? If it's talking about a temple, how do you discern if it's talking about the literal temple or the figurative temple? If it's talking about Jerusalem, literally or figuratively. So all these things take place because dealing with time text, which people, if you don't know, time text, I'm gonna let sci-fi explain to you from a full preterist point of view because I'm a partial preterist, so I'm probably gonna partially explain it to you. So I'm gonna let them fully explain it to you what time text is within preterism, if you will. Sci-fi, you with us?
I never really got to answer that question that he asked me though.
I mean, you stuck on a question like he said. We're not here to debate or do that. We just,
Nah. I'm just saying, but I never. You get, like
I mean, he's not
talk.
speaking now. When you're speaking, if you want to speak on it, just go into it and say, yeah, that question. You
Yeah, when
talk.
you talk, when he talks about this generation, once again he was dealing with three categories of things. When should these things be? His coming and the end of the world. As you get towards the end of the chapter, he starts dealing with his coming and also the end of the world. And when you start seeing the signs of his coming, that generation that's in that time should not pass, and this it's in that time of the signs is in the end of that world. So those are things that he's actually talking about. This in that time and will be that generation when they see these things within that generation. Then these when that it's at hand. Not the generation that we see seen at that time that where he was in, but actual that generation at that time. Because if you notice, Christ scattered Israel, at 70 AD, and the nations was not judged. And also not only was they not judged, the kingdom of this world did not become the kingdom of our lords. So therefore, the generation that he's talking about is the generation as him being a foreseer, as a seer, which is in the seeing the things at the end time. He's talking about the generation at that time, at the end times.
Well, I guess you answered it. Garfield, you done missed out on.
What's sci-fi doing? He running from G consciousness, man? What's popping? You was talking all this junk earlier. Me boost him up right now. Now the issue is that the brother should bring up is simple as this. When you have this generation, I think there was a defense by Orthodox Christians that the terminology was not proper. Even C.S. Lewis, who's one of the top Christian scholars, he said that it's possibly an error because it really don't make any sense because of the time period. We could make up excuses, but the scripture is a scripture though, if you want to deal with it as it's real. We can't determine if it's now or later based on theology and which mindset we coming from. If you coming from a bland mindset, you're blank, you're not a Christian, you're not a Jew, you're just reading it. There's not even just this scripture. There's many scriptures. Even Revelation, you have many scriptures where it speaks of Jesus coming like right now. Hurry up, quickly, come quickly. Even I think Paul mentioned stuff. So we can draw a lot of scriptures. As a matter of fact, you know what? Give me a few seconds. I'm gonna pull up some scriptures, and you guys could go over it. Since Sci-Fi is not here, let me play his role since he's not here. All right, give me a second.
Also, you know, I just wanted to bring out when you deal with also the scriptures to deal with the time is near or is at hand. Let me bring out a couple of scriptures that use the same expression, and we know that the Most High probably didn't come at that time, probably somewhat. Um, Let me just bring out these scriptures real quick. Watch this, so we can use the same expressions just as well. For instance, you have Zephaniah 1:14. The great day of the Lord is near. It is near, and it hasteth greatly. Even the voice of the day of the Lord, the mighty man, shall cry bitterly. So we see already that this is one of the scripture where it says the great day of the Lord is near. It is near. That's Zephaniah 1:14. Then we also look at Isaiah just as well. Isaiah 13:6. Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand, and it shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. So we know some of these scriptures that was fulfilled as far as dealing with a day that the Most High has mentioned for Israel to receive wrath either from the nations or either wrath from his hand during this time did not come several probably of years later or hundreds of years later when either Isaiah and them went into captivity dealing with Babylon, or not just even dealing with Babylon. Also, it also expresses the actual great day of the Lord, because Isaiah was dealing with immediate uh, uh, destruction that was going to take place with Babylon, and also he was dealing with future destructions that was going to take place with Babylon when Babylon would be a desolate city. But as we see when Peter comes talking about Babylon, he says that a church was in Babylon. So therefore, if Babylon was not desolate, according to what Isaiah had mentioned at that time, there had to be a partial fulfillment of Babylon, and the eternal fulfillment or the eternal judgment of Babylon will take place in the latter days, as we see in the scripture in Revelations. Now watch this. Here's another scripture. Ezekiel 30:3. For the day of the Lord is near, even the day of the Lord is near, a cloudy day. It should be the time of the heathen. So we see that also that when it says it should be a time of the heathen, that the heathen also will be judged. And then the book of Ezekiel and also Isaiah goes so far to mention that the uncircumcised heathen that's going to be dealt with just as well. So here's another scripture, Joel 2:31. The sun shall be turned into darkness, and the moon into blood, before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. So we see that there are scriptures that's in the Old Testament that uses the same terminology. Now remember, a day unto the Lord, as Peter was saying, that is as 1,000 years, as is a day. I mean, 1,000 years to the Lord is a day. So therefore, if we um, um, if we say that we've been 6,000 years on this earth, well, in actuality, it's only been 6 days into the Most High. So when we look at it and say, well, we've been here 6,000 years and we've been through this pain and suffering, well, the Most High looking at it and said, well, it's only been 6 days, and the 7th day is when I'm coming. So when we look at it, Peter is giving us that expression because at that time people were saying that Christ has come, or the resurrection has passed. So therefore, he's giving them those explanations and telling people about these preterism, because preterism It's not something that is just new. This is something that is old. People have been already tricking people, telling them that the day of the Lord has came and the resurrection has passed. Ain't nothing popping like that. We ain't going for that. When you break down this text and look at the textual criticism and you really get into it, then you realize that Christ is coming to deal with not only a earthly people and the earthly spare, but also he's coming to generate the curse that was upon the earth, which was a physical curse on the dirt. And this is why the earth need to be renovated just as well, to get rid of diseases and all those other things and cause a new transformation with a new earth and a new heaven to
That's
cause
why.
balance
That's why
within
when it
this.
be a new earth, he had to the curse that he put on the ground and the curse that fell up on Adam being one that comes out of the ground was the curse. So he got to reinstitute what he had going on before man went to the ground. But let me show you something in Zechariah 14, right? This is something that we got to deal with too. And this is talking beyond 70 AD prophecy of just Rome or Titus coming up against Jerusalem. We'll pick it up at 14:1 of Zechariah. It said, behold, the day of the Lord coming, and thou spoils shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. We know this is Armageddon, right? Pretty much. And the city shall be taken, and the house rifled, and the women's ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations, right? Remember, all nations will come up. But he said, fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof, towards the east and towards the west. And there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove towards the north, and half towards the south. Now, once again, we have to understand if we're speaking about a literal thing or a figurative thing, right? If it's literal, we believe that Jesus will come, feet hit the ground, which is considered the Mount of Olive, and it shall split literally, right? We can't go into historical records and hear something about somebody coming from heaven and his foot hit the ground and split the earth. We can't read that. So even if it did happen in a figurative manner, what is it that happened that we now can say, well, this happened, you know what I'm saying, that the Mount of Olives split figuratively and Jesus' feet, a foot, touched down on it figuratively. You will have to show this through the historical aspect, and you will have, you will also have to show where Jerusalem has been compassed about all nations, all African nations, all European nations, and all isles of the 7 continents coming together as Armageddon denotes for that great battle against the Lord in the valley of Megiddo, right? So it said, 5, and ye shall flee to the valley of the mountain, for the valley of the mountain shall reach unto Azar. Yea, ye shall flee like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Jerusalem, and the Lord God shall come and all his saints with thee. Right? So now all the saints is those that's in the ground and those that stood alive, as you could go to 1 Thessalonians 4. I mean, not first, it's 2 Thessalonians 4. Let me see if I can grab it right quick. You back with us?
Yeah, I'm back. Nobody's available though.
Okay. 2 Thessalonians 4. Well, it ain't even no 4. It's 2. My bad. 2, and you can pick it up. Nah, it's 1 Thessalonians 4. Yeah, you pick it up at 13. It said, behold, I show you, behold, but I would not have you ignorant, brethren, concerning them that are asleep, that you sorrow, even as others which have no hope. For if we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so them that which are sleeping Christ will God bring with him, right? So if his feet to touch the Mount of Olives and so on and so forth, it said all the saints should come with him. This is what we see in Daniel when it states that the kingdoms of this earth, as LaRon was saying, will become the kingdoms of God, and he will give it to the saints, and they shall have dominion forever. So Zechariah 14:6 said, and it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known to the Lord, not day nor night, but it shall come to pass that a evening time it shall be light. So it's a lot to deal with, people. I mean, one day y'all might have to get a ticket. Y'all might have to
And
get a
then
ticket to the event. Y'all might have to get a ticket to the event to see this thing go down, whether it be live on camera somewhere or in a town near you. So
let me bring this out real quick, Israel. Another thing too is when you deal with Daniel chapter 7 and also the book of Revelation, it gives us the beast, the fourth beast. And we know this fourth beast have 7 heads and 10 horns. When you deal with these beasts and you look at chapter 7 of Revelations and also Revelations chapter 17. Number one is this: these beasts we see in Daniel chapter 7, their dominion was taken away. And when their dominion was taken away, the Most High set up a kingdom which should never be uprooted, which was his kingdom, through Jesus Christ. Well, we don't see that taking place. We don't that has not happened at all.
That's
We
not true.
all if you say on a spiritual level, then you could try to say that, but in reality, that's not going to fly because once again, the Most High came and established a physical kingdom, an extension of His kingdom on earth, as we see, and that dominion was taken away from Adam and his descendants before he even had descendants. But his descendants, which was us, was born into a world of chaos or calamity, as we see in the scriptures early on. A physical earth was cursed,
So you
and
don't know who the fourth beast are?
the fourth beast is Rome, and also up out of Rome comes forth 10 kings. And
Okay, you don't know the
hold
10
on
kings.
real quick. Up out of Rome comes forth 10 kings, right? Now, Daniel only seen the 10 kings. He didn't see the 7 horns like Revelation John seen, because John was explaining something else, overall picture. Daniel was told to seal up his words, and John was given something else. Now, when we look at the 10 kings that rise up out of Rome, could you please explain to the people on the panel who are these 10 kings that rose up during the times of Rome when Christ was when they was over Christ in that time, and John just as well?
Well, I know Garfield was done seen me lay that one down just recently, but the 10 kings are the first 10 emperors of Rome. I mean, I can give them to you by name and dates if you need that. I have it.
Well, let me ask you a question. You said these 10 kings are the first 10 kings that dealt with Rome, right? That's what you said? Hello?
he fell off.
Yeah, now, if y'all notice, he said that the first 10 kings are 10 kings that he was going to give us, that he said that he have a name for these 10 kings. Now, if y'all notice, when these 10 kings rise, after the 10 king rise, guess what? 11th king rise, 11 horn, and they call him the little horn. When he rises, he plucks up, guess what? 7 of those 10 horns. I need for him to show us that. I need for him to show us a little horn rising up, which we call in the Bible the Antichrist. And when he rises up, he plucks up or subdues 3 of those kings. I need for him to show us that. He's not going to be able to do it.
Let me say this. Let me interject for a second. And this is going to be a great discussion between sci-fi and G-conscious, because G-conscious is coming from the end of time, from now until whenever it is, and he's saying it happened 1 AD. The thing now we have to put into the picture is this: how did the theology change? Hold on, sci-fi, mute your mic. How did the theology change from when Greece took over Rome? Because in the debate me and Carl had with Daniel, this might not be privy information to you guys, but if you look at the writings and the manuscripts that are available, then you will see that certain things are not in the Bible that we see today. So if you look at it from a point of view that Origen, who wrote the Hexapla, he's the one that actually merged Christian theology and Hebrew theology very well. He's the one that sat down with his team and created the Hexapla. He took all the manuscripts. This is written in history. He took all the manuscripts of the Old Testament that was available. So you had 3 different types of manuscripts that was different than the regular ones, and he merged them. There's a guy named Aquila. You had Symmachus. You had another one from the 2nd century. They wrote the whole Old Testament in Greek. They were the first ones to actually do it. Put it in Greek, as far as not the Septuagint. I'm talking the whole Old Testament with the prophecies and all that stuff. Now, what he did in the 3rd century AD was about 250 or 240 AD. He merged them together and formed something called a hexapla. Now, the hexapla, now he merged that with what the writings that you had, what we call some of the New Testament today, to make the prophecies fit. Now, I'm not trying to bring up a conspiracy theory here. I'm bringing up facts. Now, how I will prove this is this: if you look at certain manuscripts and certain things that we talk about in the Bible, they are not in the Dead Sea Scrolls. They're not in the oldest Greek text. But all of a sudden, these things start popping up in the 4th century, in the 3rd century AD. Now, as far as, and to get back to you guys, this is my point of view anyway. I just need to put it on record that the theology evolved in the Old Testament. When you just had the Old Testament alone, remember, guys, Marcion was the first person to propose a New Testament in history. And he proposed it around 130 to 140 AD. He proposed it to the Roman government, Marcion, M-A-R-C-I-O-N. Anybody want to Google him? Now, when Marcion proposed the New Testament, his New Testament had a book that was similar to Luke, except with the virgin birth and all that stuff. And he had his own little writing, and then he had 10 books of Paul's writings. So that was the first New Testament ever in history. Now, this is 140 AD. At 182 AD, Irenaeus now listen to me carefully now. This is history. Marcion proposed to the Roman government or to the Roman priesthood that you need to try this way, this new theology of dealing with the people, and let this be the new religion of Rome and the empire. They accepted his money because he was very rich. They accepted his down payment, his money, his donation to the church or to the priesthood or to the government. They accepted it, and then they looked at his theology and they rejected it. Now, why did they reject Marcion's New Testament? They rejected it because he said that the God of the Old Testament is not the real God. He is not the real God. He is a servant of God who was wicked. That God of the Old Testament killing all these people and all that stuff, this is what he's saying. So now the Roman church rejects it because they're saying that if you're going to bring a new teachings, it would have to incorporate the Old Testament also. So his stuff was rejected. They gave him back his money and said, hey, we don't have nothing to do with this. But bear in mind now, Irenaeus now comes along from France. They assign him to put a writing together, which was like an answer to what Marcion and the Gnostics were doing. So he put 4 books together and said, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. He named them and said it's based on the 4 winds or the 4 corners of the earth. So he gave 4 gospels. Because you know in the 2nd century, you had over 200 different gospels, if you really look into it.
All right,
so,
one second. Hold up. Listen to what I got to say. It's real quick. Please give us some references where you quoting from.
Okay. No, anybody could Google it. Marcion. Marcion is in history. You could go to Roman.
I'm just saying, if you could throw
Hold on,
some emphasis in there for the
hold
people.
on. Okay. Let me do it real quickly, easily. And I misunderstood you. That's why I said that. EarlyChristianWritings.com. You have all the ancient writings from the the 2nd century and so forth. Any writings you want, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th century is there. Early Christian writings. So anything I'm saying can be confirmed. But we need to also look at Irenaeus had a writing called Against Heresies, where a lot of my information is from. He is the one that really composed put 22 of the 27 books in the New Testament. He assigned them in a book form. He's the first ever to do that after Marcion. Because Marcion was the first New Testament. He is actually the second New Testament. And what we have that the Roman Church followed is based off of what Irenaeus' 22 books that he had. Because Revelations that you guys are talking about, technically speaking, was not even in the New Testament until the 4th century. So these are things that play a role because people are, and let me just make one minute point to prove what I'm saying. If you look at Luke, right, the writings of Luke, they used to have an argument said Marcion copied Luke. So it was a big controversy. You had almost every Christian writer wrote about it. But these two, I want to point this out to you real quickly. In 200 AD, Tertullian, the black North African guy, was a church father. He's the one that invented, I said this on your show a year ago, he's the one that invented the Holy Trinity concept. He's the one that coined the term Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. So now he did a review of Marcion and Luke. Now Epiphanius, who was 200 years later, did a review of Marcion and Luke. And when they compared Epiphanius, who's a Christian church father, and Tertullian, who was a Christian church father at the time, did you know that Epiphanius' version of Luke had 300 more verses than Tertullian's Luke? So that's telling me that the theology evolved. Why did it have more verses than Tertullian's? It's telling me that it evolved over the years. So what you guys are talking about when the thing when me and you debate, Carl, about Greece being the last empire and Rome being the last empire, it's because of the changes and the time period. I could say 164 BC, Greek is the 4th empire, but in the 1st century, I can't say that because Rome is now the empire in charge. So the theology changed to Rome because people took the writings and said, oh, it wasn't Greek then. It wasn't Antiochus Epiphanes IV. It must have been under Nero or Vespasian and them. So when sci-fi now comes, I'm going to tie this into sci-fi now. When he comes and tell you the 10 kings based on the 1st century, I'm not saying he's right or he's wrong, because the 10 kings that I would say is based off the Roman kingship, their rulership, their dynasty. But I would say more because you could tell by Revelations that it wasn't written at one period of time. Revelations, I could show that it's written in the 1st century, but I could also show that it was written there's parts of it written in the 3rd century. I could show parts of it that talks about the Jewish Talmud and all that stuff, which is from the 2nd century and 3rd century, and show how it ties in with the Bible. But
well, that sounds good. I know you're trying to put this on record, but this stuff give me a headache when it go too far into all of that.
No problem.
Because we can't deal with it right now. If we were trying to deal with it.
All right, let's not deal with that. Let's go to sci-fi, because sci-fi know what I'm saying. If me and you arguing right now and say the 10 kings that Laurent is talking about, he's going to tell you the 10 kings started with Caesar as the first king, which we can't really say is wrong because that's his point of view. Laurent is going to say the 10 kingdoms is referring to now with the European Union and so forth, because that's where his theology is leading him, which I don't disagree with Laurent. And I don't disagree with sci-fi because it has to do with the time period that you're in. It has to. That's my point. The time period that you're in, if he's a preterist, whether he's or not, and he said Jesus already returned, he is going to say it's from the 1st century, the first 10 kings. If Laurent is saying Jesus is coming in the future, he is going to say the 10 kings are based on the European Union and now today. That's my point. So you're going to have that difference, and both of them are actually correct based on the theology that you believe in. I can't say any of them is wrong, but based on what they believe in, they're going to say the same thing. Sci-fi, go ahead, man. Let me mute my mic.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know you watched me dismantle, I can't remember who it was, in the Raw Squad group on this very point But to go a little further before I get into this king list, going back to Matthew 24, in verse 15, he says, "And when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place." And then it has in parentheses, "Whoso readeth, let him understand. And let them which be in Judea flee into the mountain." All right. Now, when we're dealing with this particular prophecy, we know that the attack, somebody in the city of Judea has to flee to the mountain. Therefore, Laron's argument is going to get totally smashed because he can't put these 10 kings in this event in the future based on that line right there. But when I get to it and getting to this 10 king list, amazingly, this is Roman record. And Romans are so specific that I'm about to give you actual days of the year and when these men lived and died. So we all know that Julius Caesar took the kingdom by storm and became the ruler. Now, when he passed, the next up would be Augustus. He took it in 23 in the 63 year, September 23rd. And then next was Tiberius. He would be the third. He took it in November 16th, 42. Oh, I'm sorry. These are their birthdays. Let me give you the reign. He took it at March 18th in 37 AD. Next would be Caligula. He took the kingdom in January 24th, 41 AD. Next would be Claudius. Claudius took it January 24th or 25th in 41 AD, and he kept it till October 13th, 54 AD. Next up will be Nero. Nero took the reign October 13th in 54 AD and reigned until June 9th, 68 AD. Now we're into this moment with Nero where Nero he dies, and what are we at? We're at the sixth. We're at the
Hey,
sixth.
sci-fi, it's Garfield. I don't mean to interrupt you, but can I ask you one question, which I know Laurent is going to ask you? Revelation 17, right? It speaks of the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Now the seven kings, 5 dead, 1 alive, and 1 future. Where would that fit in? Because I agree with you in a sense with what you're saying, but the list of the kings for me would start from Titus.
Okay, let me tell you why.
And I'm going to tell you, hold on. So who is the king that's alive now, and who would be the future one out of the 7 kings?
Okay, you said there were 5 dead and 1 alive, right?
Yes, sir. Verse 9, Revelation 17, verse 9.
So the 5 dead. So the 5 dead. Nero is the 6th king. So
yes,
the
sir.
So the 5 dead are the 5 that were before him: Claudius, Caligula, Tiberius, Augustus, and Caesar. Those are the 5.
Mm-hmm.
Nero.
But that's separate than the 10 kings, though. Because remember, the 7 heads. Hold on, the 7 heads had 2 meanings. It was the 7 hills, referring to Rome, and it also meant 7 kings. Now the 10 horns is 10 future kings. This is where Laurent gonna tie you up now. The 10 horns is the 10 future kings.
This is the future kings to the man writing the prophecy.
That no problem. But I'm saying the 10 future kings after the 7, you have 10 more. So in all, you pretty much have.
No. Read the verse. Read the verse that you're referencing.
Hold on a second. Let me get it.
I got can y'all all see my screen that I'm sharing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I can't see it. I just see the logo. Okay.
See it, bro.
This is something that I heard and dealt with a long time ago. I don't believe it to be that much accurate, but I will show it just to show people uh, precisely what it is that people trying to do with it.
I don't even know what it's talking about.
You got the heads right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got the 10 horns. You see, it say heads. You got horns. You got the names
Oh,
of
this is
the seven kings.
the future. This is the future breakdown, right?
No, this is not this is not future, because these people here, Mussolini and Hitler, in 1935 AD, both died in 1945 AD. That's past.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's past now, but I'm saying from what I'm reading, you're saying this is the
Oh
future
yeah, it's
perspective.
a later time period in history than what you talking about.
Yeah, so Jesus referenced.
Let me read the verse real quick. Can I read it real quick?
Okay.
Revelation 17 verses 10 to 12. And there are 7 kings, 5 are falling, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. Now, and it says after that, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as of yet. So they can't be the 7 that you're talking about earlier with
Hold on, because you're asking questions and answering.
Hold on. All right, let me finish reading the verse. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as of yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
Right.
And see, hold on real quick before you say that, real quick, because sci-fi, you have a great problem with that too, because once again, you know, if you know anything about the Roman Empire, and you know anything about the revised Roman Empire that's coming to speak, you notice they rule with the 8th beast, or with the 8th king, 1 hour with him. Now, let me explain something. You just named the gang of people that passed and then have gone. Number one, these kings rule synonymous at the same time in different regions. When you look at the European Union, when you look at the Roman Empire, it was broken up to the eastern portion, which consisted of 5 regions, and also the western portion, which consisted of 5 regions. So therefore, hold on, sci-fi, hold on. So when you look, listen, bro. So when you look at these kings are in. Hold on, listen. He explains these are 10 kings to be given regions to rule with the Antichrist or the little horn. Now remember, in the book of Daniel, he said these 10 horns rise up, and he said a little horn rise up after them and plucks up 3 of those horns. You have to explain, because those horns are explained to be kings, as he said in the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation. When the 11th horn rises up, he plucks up 3 of those horns. So therefore, that 11th horn has to be ruling synonymous, raising up after them, and they ruling synonymously.
What verse?
When you reach Daniel chapter 7, and I want to say down at
you can't say something. Hold on. We need to go down a little bit. I'm just saying it's too complicated if he just kind of like going on.
One sec. That's why I said let's just take a breath. Let's just take a breath, because everybody. LeBron.
Hold on. Well, even what the brother just read.
We getting the echo number 1, so I'm telling you, let's breathe for a sec. This stuff is complicated. We don't need to be jumbling up over each other. Just take a breath, calm down. It ain't no let's everybody prove our point. This is for people that's listening too. Alright, so we're gonna let LeBron go. Sci-fi, then you can address it, and Garfield, if you want to come in, you could do so too. What I want to do is go to this layout that I got on this page here. So go ahead, LeBron.
All right, 7 and 24, and also what Garfield just read, because he brought out a good point. But let me read this real quick. Watch what it says. It says, "Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all the kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of the kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first. Now watch this. And he shall subdue 3 kings. Now once again, this brother.
Hold on. Read that again.
Hold on, brother. Hold on. I'm not finished.
Ron, he just stashed it again.
He said, I'll read it again. He says, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he's from the first 10, and he shall subdue 3 kings. So once again, as Garfield just read, when you read a little bit longer in Revelations, you will see that this king rises up. 10 kings rises up, and the 8th one, which is the 8th kingdom or empire, which is the 11th king in Daniel, he subdues 3 of these. So these people are synonymous with each other. Hold on, brother. You
so much to that text.
Well, listen, bro. Hold on, listen, bro. You cutting me.
Hold up. Now, if we know what we're talking about, we should be able to pause. And that's something to get to it. We haven't a dialogue with the teaching.
Well, okay. So let me do something real quick, because he's cutting me, and every time he cut me, he kind of throw me off a little bit. Now watch this. Hold on.
Right, no. All
right, that's cool. All right, so watch this. Watch what he says. Bring it up again. And the horns which thou sawest upon the beast. Hold on. Here it is right here again. Same thing. It says, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is the 7th, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. Once again, as Daniel mentioned, which have received no kingdom as yet. Killer. But receive power as king 1 hour with the beast. So therefore, they are synonymous, and they're going to rule over regions of this earth. So you will have to explain, because you just gave to the audience and the people kings that have passed and died already, and then you find a 8th king that come up, which rules over 8th empire, that subdues 3 of these kings. It's in the 10th kingdom, and the rest give their power unto him.
Laurent, can you repeat that last part before? 30 seconds. You said something about the king.
Hold up. LeBron, you need to turn your audio system down some, because we getting feedback every time somebody say something to you. You gotta adjust that mic and that speaker some, man.
Hey,
what you were saying, Garfield?
Yeah, you remember the part that you said about the 3 kings, right? Because I don't know if sci-fi is familiar with this, but Vetilius, Otho, and Galba would be considered the 7th king under his idea. They ruled between 68 and 69 AD, because after Nero, they had a confusion, so several people were trying to battle for the 7th spot. So there were 3 kings at that point. That's just to be balanced on sci-fi side. Those 3 people. I don't know if you're aware of that. And Vespasian would be the 8th king. So it kind of make a little sense, Laurent. I don't know what you say to that.
I was gonna get into it, but see, first.
Let me real quick, Safa. Because he wanted me to. Now once again, when you look at it, these 10 kings are synonymous with the 11th king, which is the 8th kingdom. When you read it, when it says 5 kings, it says 5 have fallen. When he said there are 7 mountains, and he said 5, he said the mountains are kings. He said 5 have fallen. Number 1 is, this is in John's day. John is told 5 have fallen. So when we look at the 5 that are fallen, we're looking at mountain kingdoms or empires. So the 5 that actually fell, that the book of Daniel does not mention, because the book of Daniel does not mention the 7 empires. These are empires that are mentioned as.
Hold up. Now, everybody, I'm sitting up here listening.
All right, well, go ahead, man. I'm going to get off here. I'm going to call y'all back in a minute.
All right, so now let's just look right quick. Right? Let's go to Daniel, because this, like Garfield said, this is where we had our contention on Talk Real Solution, and we did a little debate. And this is where we had our contention, right? This thing is simple. Let's go to Daniel, right? Because we talking about 7 kingdoms. It's simple to count up to 7 kingdoms because you're dealing with the 7 heads, right? And you even go to Revelations 13 and you'll see the 7, right, being brought together. So now.
Are you in Daniel 7?
Yeah, that's where we going.
Can I read, and then you can break down as we go? Because I want to clarify. I was going to go to 24 where he was at.
Well, nah, let's count up to 7 heads, and you start with the 7 heads by basically starting at I guess you could say 3, or you could pick it up at 1 or 2 or any of them before you get to 4.
What are you saying? You said start at verse 3?
You can start exactly at 4. We're gonna count to 7 kingdoms and the 7 heads right quick.
Okay. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I behold till the wings therefore were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and as a heart was given unto it.
So now we got the first like a lion. That's 1, right?
Who is that?
That's Nebuchadnezzar.
Okay. So just real quick, since none of us is confused about this, we're going to say that those 4 kingdoms are the 4 powers. We're putting.
Well, verse 3 said, "And 4 great beasts shall come from the sea, diverse one from the other." Then if you go to verse 17, it said, "These great beasts which are 4 kingdoms which shall arise out of the earth."
Right. So we established them as the Persians.
Well, we count them now. We got Nebuchadnezzar.
Okay. So you want me to go start back at verse 5?
Now you could go to 5.
Okay. And behold, another beast, a second, like a bear, and it rised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, and between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise and devour much flesh.
So now that's 2 heads. We got Nebuchadnezzar. This is the Medes and the Persian, the bear. That's right. 2.
That's it.
2. That's 2 kings.
Right. That's the second beast. The Medes and the Persians. Now, the next, right? After this I behold, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon his back its 4 wings of a fowl, and the beast had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
So now we got the 3rd beast, but it got 4 heads. So that's 1 head, 2 head, 3 head, 4, 5. We got 6 heads. We need another head to complete the 7. And
okay, but let's establish who that is.
That's the Greeks with Alexander 4 kings.
Right, and his reign was swift. Right, he ran through everybody real fast. Okay,
I'll give y'all a visual of it. Let me show that thing I had once again. We'll go down here. Can y'all see it?
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm gonna keep reading. And after this I saw the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strongly exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth, and devoured and brake in pieces, and stomped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Now we're at the 4th beast.
We got the 4th beast, and that's when the 10 horns pop up. Okay. So you got 7 heads at this point. You got Babylon, the Medes and the Persians, the Greeks, and then when the 4th beast come, boom, that's 7 heads. When you get to 7 heads manifesting themselves, then 10 horns come up.
Okay, hold on a second. In my debate, I use what's called the Maccabean theory. Now, the Maccabean theory says basically that the last person on the list was Antiochus Epiphanes. Now, Antiochus Epiphanes, under him, he was within those 10 horns, which was the 10 kings. I'm gonna just tell you I could read the kings off just like how my brother read them
Okay.
off earlier. But
Let's
hold on a second. Hold on a second.
hold
It goes. Hold on, brother. I'm just saying. It goes.
Right, but hold up. It ain't like I'm finna just cut you all the way off. Don't be, y'all be balling like y'all just gotta get stuff out and somebody gonna cut y'all off and you'll never speak again. No. How do you say Antiochus? Because that's the name so people will know who you're talking about.
Antiochus is Antiochus. Epiphanes is Epiphanes. What happened is, hold on, let me just explain something to everybody real quickly. I don't agree, and I made an error in the debate with you, that there was a Median Persian Empire. I believe it was the Mede Empire because of Daniel 5:30 verses 30 and 31, where he said that the Medes took over after Belshazzar. I believe that's what Daniel thought happened. It wasn't right in history, but in his mind, the writer, who was writing in the 2nd century BC, thought that the Medes took over because the Medes were a big empire. And what happened is the Medes and the Persian then merged, which would be the 3rd empire, called the Achaemenid Empire. That's the Medes and the Persian. So now the 4th empire would be the Greeks, and Antiochus Epiphanes is one of the kings, one of the 10 horns, which became this major beast in that region. The Seleucid Empire was major. They took over almost everywhere. There was
Okay, the reason why, let me show you why your premise is so dead wrong, is because as we read a little further, the Messiah has to appear during the 4th beast.
Okay.
So now that's literally saying when Jesus came, being the Messiah, he was dealing with the Roman Empire. So even as the people thought at that time, he was going to come and restore the kingdom of Jerusalem at that time because they was in the 4th beast.
That's how, see, you had a good premise, but when you continue on with the text and realize that the prophecy is predicting the coming of the Messiah, that's what the whole prophecy is about. So when we know when he arrived during the Roman Empire. So just based on that alone, it lets us know that the Roman Empire is the 4th beast.
Correct. Now,
so all we got to do is adjust for the other 3.
Hold on, let me say something.
Do you agree with that?
Let me say something real quickly to you guys.
Yeah. Nothing.
All right, go ahead, guys. I'm gonna join back in a second. Go ahead. I'm gonna join back. Give me a second.
All right.
so yeah, that's as
All
he
right. So let's just move on. He can come back and break that down for us. Huh?
Yeah, he fumbled the ball in that debate. He couldn't pass the 3rd empire. I mean.
So I'm gonna continue reading, and you can do your breakdown, Carl.
Oh, okay.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came among them another little horn.
So now this is when LaRon was getting into. You got the 7 heads, then you got the 10 horns come up, right? Which is 10 kings. Horns is synonymous with kings. Then now doing these 10s, another horn come up. This is what he said.
So we already destroyed his premise that we can't prove the 7 heads.
Right.
Remember that? Like he's trying to put that in the future. But we've already established them in those 4 governments or world empires, and now here we are in the 4th beast establishing the 10 kings.
When the Roman Empire get here, we got the 7 heads. So during the Roman Empire, at some point, past or future, from the partial and partial and full preterist perspective, we have to deal with the 10 kings now. But we got the 7 heads.
Hey, okay. Carl, quick question. I'm sorry to cut you off. Are you saying that in Daniel 7 it says that the Messiah would come, or are you saying in Revelations it said that?
Well, when you pick it up in verse 18, it said, "But the saints of the Most High."
Hold on. What are you reading from?
Daniel 7 and 18. It said, right?
Hold on. I'm sorry. Where are you reading from?
Daniel 7, verse 17 and 18, right?
All right.
Matter of fact, I'm going to pick it up at 14, then I'm going to skip to them. It said, And there was given, hold up, we'll pick it up at 13. It said, and I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came in the clouds of heaven, and came unto the Ancient of Days, and they was brought near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away. In his kingdom, that which shall not be destroyed. Then
Right
skip
there.
down to 17.
Hold on, because you just established that that's the coming of the Messiah.
Right.
So that's how we know that this is the fourth beast, and here's the prophecy that one like the Son of Man with the clouds of heaven came to the Ancient of Days.
Okay, I'm gonna bring some information to you guys in a short time. I'm just gonna find it on my computer, and what it talks about is how scriptures, whether you want to believe it or not, and I'm gonna prove it to you guys in a second, how scriptures was changed because of the Roman Empire. They never believed that in the 2nd century BC. They never did. This changed because of the 1st century and people changing the documents. But continue on teaching. I'm gonna get back to you guys. Let me just find this stuff. All right, I just wanted to be clear. Go ahead.
Okay, we got you. So you want me to continue, or are you gonna read it?
You could pick it up at 9, where we were,
Go back to 9.
or you could pick it up at 8.
Let's flow, because we already established that now.
Oh, okay.
And then we going in 15. Said, I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the vision of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all of this. So he told me, and made me know the interpretation of the things. These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall rise out the earth.
4 kings, and kings rule over kingdoms. So it's 4 kingdoms. But the kingdoms also have divisions in them, as we see most definitely with the 3rd kingdom in Greece. Alexander died, and his 4 generals became 4 heads.
Verse 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. You want to break that down, or are you cool?
I'm cool with that. That's what LeBron was trying to talk about when he's saying that Jesus hadn't came and the earth is not under his authority, in the sense that all righteousness is dwelling in the earth right now.
So now he's still in the vision. He just brought forth Jesus, and the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and ever and ever. So the saints are going to take the kingdom and possess it during what period of time? Where are we at? Have we left Rome yet?
After the Roman Empire is destroyed.
So we're out of Rome. Are we still in Rome, or are we out of Rome?
Well, the thing is, have Jesus eclipsed the Roman Empire?
Okay, let's keep reading, because the verse.
I mean, in the text itself, yes, it's taking us beyond the Roman Empire now.
Okay, let's keep reading, because I'm not ever going to see. I'm not taking the position that we leaving Rome. We ain't leaving Rome during this whole chapter.
Right.
But we all gonna figure that out as we go along together.
Right, but we going beyond Rome, because once Jesus take over,
but you're adding stuff to the text now.
No, we ain't. No, we ain't.
Let's interpret as we go.
We can go to the other text, and we can even go to
Let's
2.
Interpret as we go.
I understand, but we got to go here a little, there a little. So let's not say
that ain't what you've been doing, though, Carl. You ain't been doing that. You've been interpreting as we go. We trying to get through just this chapter.
All I'm saying now is, don't try to hold me in a box right here where we dealing. You ask me a question and then try to act like it's a trap or something. We still just talking. We ain't battling.
I'm not battling. I'm just saying let's read, and I want you to interpret.
So, but when you ask a question, and I'm trying to explain what it is that you asked me, that at the same time we going beyond the Roman Empire, but within the text, yes, he make this statement and he go back into the 10 horns.
Okay, so we'll accept that, and we just want to keep going, and then I'm gonna show you how we still in Rome. We gonna keep reading.
Right, because now he through with the vision, but he want to understand the vision.
Yeah,
19.
so now interpretation is coming, and he says, then, and this is verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the other. See, we still in the fourth beast, and he said, exceedingly dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake into pieces, and stomped the residue with his feet. And the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the others which came up, and before them 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spoke very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. So the question that we're all having here is, we established that these 10 kings are either in Rome or their future, correct?
Correct.
Okay, you're taking the position that these 10 kings are in the future. I'm taking the position, well, I'm talking about the 10 horns. You're taking the position that the 10 horns are in the future. I'm taking the position that the 10 horns are the 10 kings of Rome. Now we're at verse 21. I behold, and the same horns made war with the saints. Now I'm taking the position that them same horns that made war with the saints were the 10 kings that had war with the Christians in the first century. And prevailed, huh?
And I take the position that if you go to Revelation 17, you will see the harlot sitting up on the beast, which is the last beast, which if you go to Romans 13, you will see that it's a composite of all the beasts, right? That she's sitting up on that beast, which we know is to be Rome, and we will have to figure out who she is that's sitting up on Rome and controlling Rome.
We're going to go to that verse because we done been there before. We're going to go and establish that. Once soon we finish with this, we can run and find out who the harlot is, right? We're going to go to Revelations and find out who the harlot is. And I'm going to show
Wait,
you.
hold on, real quick before you do that, now you saying sci-fi, and are you saying Carl, because are you saying that these kings rule simultaneously? Because I think you missed the verse, or you did quote the verse of sci-fi when it says that the 11th king subdues 3 of those 10 kings. So in order for him to subdue 3 of those 10 kings, they had to be simultaneously ruling.
Number one, we right
here. The 8th king.
Hold up, nah, check it out. We right here at the verse, right? So we're in verse 20, and it said, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the others which came up, and before them 3 fell. Now, if we just look at the passages that we read earlier, right? In verse 3, and 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. 17, these great beasts which are 4 kingdoms, which shall arise out of the earth. Now you get to 20, and it said, other 10, them which were in his head, right? Let's get to it said, even of the horn, where it say, 3 was plucked. Oh, that's where it say right here. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the others which came up, and before whom 3 fell. 3 what fell? Kingdoms, kings. So to get to the 4th, 3 has to go down. 1, look, you got 4. 1 go down, 2 go down, 3 go down. The 4th one is still there. So now, it's not saying the 10 kings do anything and 11 come up. It say that 3 have fallen, and now you're looking at what? The 4th.
Hold on, bro. Let me jump to 24, verse 24.
No, we read.
Hold up. We going verse by verse.
Yeah.
And we interpreting each one.
No, because he just said it's not saying that, but verse 24 saying the 10 horns out of the 10 kingdom are. He's giving us what the horns are.
Then we just read each verse. I mean, we only 3 verses.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, so 21. I beheld, And the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. 22. Until the Ancient of Days come, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it into pieces. This is why we know that the earth is not the planet Earth, because the kingdom is going to devour this earth, and it's going to tread down on this earth, and it's going to break this earth into pieces. But this is a king and his army that's going to do this.
Figurative.
Keep on reading, bro. Keep on reading.
And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings. So the kings come out of this kingdom. Which kingdom? The fourth kingdom. Which kingdom did we establish was the fourth kingdom?
Roman.
Rome. Okay, so Rome is the fourth kingdom, and out of Rome are going to come 10 kings, and they shall arise, and another shall rise after them.
Wow.
And
now,
hold on, I'm going to break that, Carl. Oh, you go ahead. I'll let you do it.
Oh, you can go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to just read the verse, and I'm going to break that down. And he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. Now, when I read the kings list, I'm going to show you that in a very short span, a very short time, 3 kings went down simultaneously. Boom, boom, boom. And then he says,
well, hold on, bro. When you show that, number one is remember the 11th king subdues 3 of those kings.
Okay, let's go back.
The 11 horns subdues 3 of those kings. So so let me ask you a question. If he's ruling, these kings are simultaneously, because the 11 horns subdues 3, and then when we look at the book of Revelation, it says that the rest give their power unto the beast.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop really quick.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
And by the way, that verse in Daniel was not to be a stickler, wasn't even in the book at that time period. The one that you guys read earlier regarding the prophecy in Daniel 7. But anyway, all of this stuff you guys are reading now is in the book of Daniel. And I'll say this again. I'm going to stick by this theory, right, that I stuck by, that the 10 horns come from the Seleucid Empire, right? And I'm going to say the 3 kings is Heliodorus, Demetrius I, and the infant Antiochus, who ruled. Those 3 kings were actually overthrown based on, and I didn't realize what Laurent is talking about. He's talking about the history, actually, what happened with Antiochus Epiphanes. This is what happened. He kicked those 3 people, exactly what he's asking for, the 11th king. And I keep saying it's the 8th king. No, it's the 11th king. That's who Antiochus Epiphanes was.
Okay, so if you're going to...
Antiochus Epiphanes was a Greek. These 10 kings come up out the Roman Empire, not the Greek Empire.
Right.
That's the first
But hold on a second, guy. Hold on, sci-fi. Hold on. We're not arguing. I'm going to stick with my Maccabean theory, right? You're going to stick with your Roman theory, and Laurent is going to stick with his Roman theory of the future, right? Now, listen.
You're not establishing that the Messiah.
Hold on. 1 second. Wasn't one of the descriptions the teeth of iron? Which empire was known as the Iron Kingdom?
Hold up. Before we go any further, the thing here is Garfield is just putting forth his position. We all agree that his position is wrong.
Okay.
Right? So, but he's just putting it forth for the audience so they can see the different point of view and go study that if they choose to take the time out and look into the theory that he's laying forth. So we ain't got to beat that up. We already established that 3, which established the fact, right, in the Bible, 2 or 3. We established the fact that as it is written, it's talking about the 4th beast being the Roman Empire, even the empire which Jesus have to face when he come. Whether he do it 2 times or do it 1 time is what we are dealing with. Garfield not even dealing with that because he's saying it should have happened in the Greek Empire. So now that we got these things established, he might point out again that wasn't even written in the Bible, but now it is. So yes, you will have to interpret and understand that. So now that we all on one accord, what verse we at? 24?
We're at 24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings, right? So I don't know if Garfield has 10 kings out of that kingdom that
Yes,
he
I do.
defined.
I do.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna let you lay that down too, so we can see your position. And he said, and another shall rise after them. Now this is the 11th king that
LeBron keeps speaking of.
LeBron's talking about. And he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saint of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him. Here are two is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cognition much troubled me, but my contents changed me, but I kept the matter in my heart. So this is the prophecy of the destruction of heaven and earth. Do we all agree with that?
Most definitely.
This 11th king is a antichrist. Do you agree with that, G. Carl?
Most definitely. This the little horn.
Yeah, I agree that he's the Antichrist, but I don't agree that it's a destruction of destruction of heaven and earth. What do you mean by that?
Let's get you to
Well,
fully understand
that's
that.
figurative
I'm gonna
speech.
read it again. He says, but the judgment, this is 26. He says, but the judgment shall sit and shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it until the end. And the kingdom and dominion and his greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. And
Yeah,
all dominion.
the destruction that he will destroy the destruction, and the Most High will destroy and destruct the kingdom is of the social system of the beast system
Right.
is
Just
of the Antichrist.
just
Not
read
the
3.
So,
go ahead.
Read
so
23.
if we skipped over to Matthew 22, where Jesus
Right. Go back to
references
23 right quick. You read it earlier. Just read 23.
23 what?
Right there. Daniel
In
7.
Daniel? Oh, okay.
Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which
Yeah.
shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and it shall devour the whole earth,
And shall
and
tread
trodden it
it
down and break
break
it into pieces, meaning he gonna destroy the earth. What do the earth mean now? What figurative language is it trying to tell us about the literal thing that should transpire?
that he's going to destroy the people. See, I, from my studies and the way we do it, we understand the earth to represent those people. And so the fourth beast, in 23, he says the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth. That's going to be Rome, which shall be diverse from all other kingdoms and shall devour the whole earth, meaning that Rome is going to devour the people of God and shall tread it down and break it into pieces. That's the city of Jerusalem. See, the reason why I know it is because when you go to Matthew 24 and verse 15, Jesus references this prophecy. And Jesus says, when ye therefore see the abomination of desolations spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place. And when he references Daniel, he's speaking about the prophecy of the end of the world, because both
Quick question, my brother. Not to cut you. Are you saying that the 70 AD is related to this prophecy?
Daniel's prophecy is the destruction. That's why I'm in Matthew 24, where Jesus gives the same prophecy.
Yes,
And
yes, Garfield, because when you go to Daniel 9 and you read in 25,
Carl. No, I was saying that I just wanted to know if he's saying that it's related. If he's saying it's related. All right.
It's the same prophecy. Jesus and Daniel both speak of this prophecy of the end of time, because in Matthew 24, the disciples asked Jesus, when is the end of the world, or the end of the age? And then here in Daniel, he's giving a prophecy of that very moment and the destruction, which is referenced as the abomination of desolation.
Well, hold on, bro. Let's not really get away from the premise here, because once again, we read in this text in Daniel at 24 what it says that the 11 kings shall subdue 3 kings. So once again, you're gonna have to show us that those 10 kings that you mentioned. Hold on, real quick, so the audience can hear. He's gonna have to show us those 10 kings that he named off, which he named that this one ruled this time and died this time, and then this one came and ruled this time and died this time. We see that these kings ruled synonymous, and therefore we know it because the 11 kings subdued 3 of those kings. He need to show us that.
Okay,
well, look, hold up. Hold up. Listen. Number one, we'll do a show on that. This already been a long show, and a lot of stuff being put out here. I don't want to mess up the minds of the people by all the different content that's on this show right here. So
I'm just gonna quickly run the 10, Carl, because we're talking about them. We need to run.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, that's cool. But I'm just saying, for us deliberating if your 10 is wrong or your 10 is right and this and that, everybody can lay down a 10 if they want to. I ain't gonna do it because, like I said,
you ran a 10 already, and those 10 was not living synonymously with each other.
The 10, LeBron, just calm down.
No, I'm saying Sci-Fi ran a 10. He ran it earlier.
And I got the 6.
Okay, even when you did with 6, they still was a synonymous ruling at the same time.
That don't matter. The thing is, people laying down a premise. If it's wrong, you deal with it later. That's why I'm saying we not trying to argue and fight and discuss and get in great detail on the 10 if they right or wrong and why they right and wrong and all of that. So the thing is, we not here to argue and fight. So let's keep the spirit down by not trying to argue and fight. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying now is we could go in great detail tomorrow, or we could do it later on this afternoon before I do my interview with the brother or something. But the thing is, we exhausting the minds of the people here. People have low attention spans. We done did about 3-4 hours. So the thing is, we can lay down the 10. Y'all can. I'm not going to do it. Lay down your 10, and then that way they'll have a reference. And even everyone else could take an hour and look at these 10 if they want to and deal with it and go into the 10.
Well, I just do 2 minutes to lay my 10 down, then G Conscious can lay his 10 down in 2-3 minutes, and then allow.
Well, actually, I can't lay no 10 down because they ain't came yet.
Okay, mine came, and I'm gonna lay mine down real quick for you. So 1, Julius Caesar. 2, Augustus. 3, Tiberius. 4, Caligula. 5, Claudius. Number 6, the 666 king, Nero. Right? Okay. Now after Nero, I'm gonna get into a few little dates because it all happens really quick. You got Galba. Galba holds the reign from June 8th, 68 AD to January 15th, 69, and then he's murdered. When he gets murdered, next up is Otha. Otha takes the reign in January 15th, 69, and then he commits suicide after losing the Battle of Bedrekium. And this is all in 69. And then April 17th in 69, Vitellius takes the throne. At this time, Vitellius takes the throne on April 17th. He dies by December, same year, on December 20th. He gets murdered. Now, they have to send word to Vespucian. Vespucian is out on the battlefield running up on Jerusalem. He had been out there for a few years, and now he has to go back to Jerusalem to take the throne. So Vespucian comes. Vespucian becomes the 10th king. All of those 3 kings were taken down all within a few months. And then once Vespucian is king, he then sends Titus, his son, which is a prince because his father is king, out to finish the job on Jerusalem. Those are my 10. And
so Titus is the 10th king?
No, Titus is the 11th king then.
So
No,
Titus is
hold on, let him finish. Is Titus the 10th king?
Titus is no, Vespucian is the 10th, and Titus is out on the battlefield. He's the prince.
So
Now,
the deal with what's been read, it say 10 and then 1 rolls out of it, right? It said horn. So now if you want to say king and not deal with the term prince, then like I said, we're not finna get into all of that right now. He laid it down, his premise. If you heard his premise or didn't hear his premise, you can go listen to the show once it goes off, and you can build your argument to deal with it whenever we make it back to this platform. If not, LeRon, you can open up your platform and invite the brother over, and y'all can get deep into that. I will also come so I can have a couple words in it, and I will bring that episode back over here and post it for the people if need be, so they can get, you know, the continuation of this conversation. But at this point, I want to take a break because I want to go get me some breakfast and stuff, and I want to take a break and not exhaust my mental.
I just want to say these are 2 good brothers to have this conversation, because at least, you know, it's okay we differ, but they definitely have a strong belief in their position, and you know, we just need to. It's such a critical thing that it takes time to walk through the different divisions. So I don't really be trying to be rough with you, G. Constance. You know, it's just a deep topic. You know what I mean? But if we slow down and ask each other 1,000 questions, we'll get to the end point.
And I might have to start.
I have a question real quick. G Conscious, you said something important earlier. You said that when is Jesus allegedly supposed to come? Is he supposed to come after the 11th king, or is he supposed to come before the 11th king? This is for G Conscious.
Well, yeah, he comes actually after the 11th king, and he subdues. That's when his coming to the earth. Because I'm a rapture believer, so I believe that he comes.
Let me ask you this: based on Daniel, though, say that the scripture in Daniel 7 is correct about I see in the Ancient of Days 7:13, 14, or whatever it is, and if that is correct, when would be the time period then for and this is for Sci-Fi and G Conscious and Israel Doctrine? When would Jesus have come then? When is he supposed to come? Originally, I'm not talking the second time. Originally, according to Daniel 7.
Well, you said he comes after, and he subdues. I mean, he subdues the 11th kingdom and the eighth kingdom, the Antichrist and his false prophet. He takes them and he throws them both into the lake of fire, into hell at that time, or to the pits or whatever at that time, and also Satan, and they're there for 1,000 years. Well, Satan is there for 1,000 years, so he comes actually after the establishment of the eighth.
You know what Sci-Fi said then? If Titus is the 11th king, Jesus is supposed to come and take care of Titus. Am I correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
If that's what Titus is saying.
Okay. All right. I just want
if that's what Sci-Fi is saying.
Man.
Okay. So in Matthew 20.
Hold up. Garfield, I thought your question was based up on Daniel 7, was Jesus supposed to come before Titus them or after them? And you said not the second time. Did
Okay.
you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you saying not the second time, then that means he will come before the 10 kings, based up on that, because you're saying when he come the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and so before Titus and all them come, and before he prophesies that, even in
No, I'm disregarding the New Testament at this time, based on the Old Testament.
right, I understand that, but I'm just saying based up on
Mm-hmm.
our foreknowledge that there is a New Testament, and it does say stuff that if you ask that question, is he to come before the 10 or the 11th, or he's to come afterwards?
Right.
From what we read and know, seeing we have foreknowledge of it, it ain't like it don't exist. Then he prophesied the coming of the 10 when he was here. So that means he would come before the 10.
Okay, I got you. So that means, hey, I want you guys to Google this thing called apocalyptic literature. There's a wiki article in it, and I want you guys just to read it and think about this, because there's a lot of changes that came to the theology and some of the Old Testament books when it came into the first century period. Because remember, you had the Essenes, you had different people who had different type of theology, and all of this changed once the first century turned, because everybody thought there was somebody coming back at a certain time period. So when the person didn't come now, then people started to change the theology, because even the stuff you just mentioned, I think G Conscious just mentioned 1,000 years or whatever, that wasn't the same theology as a gentleman by the name of Cerinthus, Cerinthus. He wrote a book called Revelations, and a matter of fact, the church didn't want to accept the book of Revelation because they said that he wrote it and it wasn't John. So he wrote that 1,000-year thing too. So I'm trying to figure out, and I'm trying to put the pieces together. But if I was anybody though, I would more go with the Old Testament and what the Old Testament said originally than what the New Testament says. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion.
All that's good, and you laying down your premise. But what thing you gotta understand, that the more and more you read this and that, we gotta let me slow down. We got to understand that propaganda didn't start in our day and time. We have to understand that. Meaning that all this stuff that we read, like we could read, as we was talking about Booker T. Washington yesterday, we could read a lot of books about Booker T, and it's a lot of people wrote stuff. You know how much stuff we would have to go through and comb through of propaganda and stuff to get to the root of the matter? Because that's how propaganda works. They put all this stuff out here to have you looking at so much stuff that you forget the big picture. So I appreciate what you giving, Garfield, because that shows that you've been looking in all these different places, and someone that would take your position, right? Or even our position. Because the thing is, the temptation is to either pull people away from the truth that we believe, or that individual believe, or to take someone from the truthful aspect that you believe and see it. So that's what it say when it say study to show thyself approved. You know what I'm saying? And that's all we trying to do here today. Most definitely right now. Now, if we come back in an hour or two, we gonna be fighting.
Let me say my last little. Let me say my last little words before I go out.
Game's about to be on.
I'm gonna get these kids.
Nobody,
Yeah, I think that for the most part, like I say, I have a page just as well. G Consciousness Radio. Also G Consciousness. Google Plus. My email is.
This stuff.
My. Hold on, let me plug them before I leave. My email. My email is Ron498 at gmail.com. You can reach me either on Facebook just as well as G Consciousness, or Ron Campbell. Just look me up. So I think for the most part is I think that if we have a next show, or whether or not I do it on my format or platform, I think that we need to lay down our premise. I think that I have me personally, a better premise than sci-fi is trying to build, and I can express it and show it, a little bit more clear. Sci-fi, good brother. I understand what he trying to build and bring. I don't take it as no him, you know, because this is what we do, man. Israel do this, you know, so I expect it from the other brothers just as well, man. Israel get into it too, but we still, you know, love for each other, like as I love these brothers on the panel. I'm not, you know, coming against what they dealing with, you know, but
You're
I
not
think that I
you
have a better,
doctrine.
huh?
You're not coming against the brethren. You're coming against the doctrine.
Yeah, the doctrine basically. So I have a, you know, once you hear my premise, I think it'll basically clarify some things. I think that it was some things that was said today that, you know, sci-fi gonna have to go back and look at, you know, and he has to explain because as the audience just viewed and read, these kings ruled at the same time and one of them subdued the other three. So they wasn't no this one died out or this one died out or this one did not. That's not none of that's popping. I think that we have to also look into politics and economics because that's very important. You know, when we talk about the market of beasts and being able to buy, sell, and trade, you know, and the goals of the conspiracy that's taking place right now for that agenda to take place. So, like I say, come and listen to G consciousness, man, and break this thing down all the way because there's a lot of propaganda out there. The book of Revelation and Daniel is synonymous and hand in hand. That book is supposed to be there. And also, not only that, is that John just mentions a little bit more revelation than what Daniel is mentioning because Daniel was told to seal up certain things, whereas in John's time, he's a little bit closer to the
Okay.
time. So, then with that being said, I just want to say peace to everybody on the panel.
Yeah, Bree.
Peace to
Hold
you,
up
Carl.
before you go.
Hey,
Before you go.
can I say something, by the way?
Hold up, Garfield. Before LeBron go, cause he about to speedball off. Who won the debate between me and William Bell?
I give it to Carl because, like I say, and the reason why I give it to Carl is because Carl, you know, he brought out some excellent points, and not only that is just the whole preterism theory is just I'm talking about it's something that's just really I'm talking about not even what's popping like it's no truth behind it. You know, they bring in everything from a literal stance, becoming from a symbolic stance because they don't understand the literal terms. So they take it and try to bring it into something symbolic. Anybody can do that, you know, but for the most part, it's just not solid. These kingdoms have not become the kingdom of our lords. We got people drug dealing, people still murdering, nation against nation still, no nation being judged, uh, no no situation set up like Adam was given. So now I'm not buying that, and anybody else that buy it, they should look at it too and not buy it because, like I say, if I buy that, then I might as well do like everybody else doing. Out here robbing, stealing, and killing. You know,
Okay,
ain't no,
Hey, but you
let
know
me
what
say
though?
something.
No, hold
Hold
on,
on.
sci-fi. Listen, if sci-fi doesn't rob, steal, or kill anybody, then he's a preterist. So that's not fair. I don't rob, steal, or kill from anybody, and I don't believe in none of that nonsense.
But he's not talking about y'all. He's talking
I know he because
about
sci-fi is a preterist. That's
Okay,
why.
but let
he's
me.
talking
But
about those that's out there rob, stealing, and killing.
No,
no,
he
no,
said
no.
that. He said no, Carl. Carl, you misunderstood what he said. No, Carl. He said that if he might as well go and rob, steal, and kill if he doesn't believe, if he accepts what they believe. But I'm saying to him that I don't do those things, and sci-fi is a preterist, and he doesn't do those things. We still
Right.
have a law that we live by,
But
regardless if I believe or not.
I appreciate that, Garfield. But now, I'm never offended by the opposition's opinion, right? Because I understand when I'm listening to him even explain his position. I already hear the fallacies that if we were in a debate, that I would begin to attack, as well as he hears a fallacy in what I'm saying, right? But these fallacies are only believed because in actuality, we would really have to all like get on the phone or meet up with books and take a nice long time while we, really go through it. So I'll say this thing to put it on record. Um, we prepared to come and debate, with like, see, this morning I get a call from Carl Alberts, and I just pop up. I haven't even got a good cup of coffee in me yet, or my mind isn't prepared. But like tonight, if I know that I'm coming to the battle, I've been and covered my notes and know exactly where I want to go and how I'm approaching it, and it'll sound much more smoother, much more clear. And then, like I say, when you hear it from William Bell, who who's been, speaking on the subject for 30 years, then maybe he'll be very, very clear where, maybe I didn't give it to you as clear. You know what I mean? But I haven't been speaking on the subject for 30 years. So we're preparing for that, to introduce this. And it's okay for the people who think that, it's a little like lowballing to say because you don't understand it, because the doctrine has just been introduced to you, that it's just way out in and you just understood it. Go ask somebody who never opened up a Bible before and start off with Jesus walked on water.
Right, so we might have to have a preterist Armageddon.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hold on. If y'all noticed something, I had just woke up like the brother too. Matter of fact, I got in around about 1 or 2. But let me tell y'all something. I stay fluent and I stay ready. I'm fluent with this. So therefore, I don't have to get any notes. I can do it right now after the show, and we can start another one. I don't have to collaborate or gather nothing because I'm fluent in what I'm saying. So therefore, I know about this argument. I have studied everything that he's going to bring. The time is near. The time is at hand. I grabbed y'all them scriptures with the same expressions of certain things that didn't happen to 500, and some certain things that the dead Lord did, Israel doctrine brought out. This still ain't happened, and it was saying the time is at hand and the time is near. The expression "a dead to the Lord" as a thousand years. I mean, a thousand years as a day to the Lord is something that is true. That's even scientifically proven because He is not on our timing. When we look out into space, there's things that has already happened, and also He's on a different time zone. He's basically on infinite time. So therefore, when we look at it and we look at the whole stance, I stay ready. I ain't gotta go grab no notes.
Check it out. This is what you're gonna have to do, LeBron. You're gonna have to go find the baby preterists, full preterists, Michael Miano, and beat him up. Then you can step up to the big boys.
Okay, we're gonna have to deliver the rigor mortis of G conscious. Part 2.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. I just been laying low because I've been dealing with stuff, as far as on the evolution stuff. But hey, if I can get back in this area because this thing is embedded in me. I'm dealing with the evolution stuff and on that aspect.
I was more myself. The reason why, I'll do this kind of conversation when I'm asked to. I mainly push Pan-Africanism, but like I got a whole lot of diatribe for that has not been introduced to the community, that I haven't really came on anybody's platform and spoke about, not even on Carl's yet. I mean, from the topics we have, but I do, the people know I'm coming from a preterist perspective. That's why I kind of, I let Sharp Spear more so take the mantle on that, or William Bell. Not that I can't. It's just that I didn't want the confrontations to where I'm stuck having to talk about this every time I appear on a radio station. You know what I mean? Like that's just my position. But for the education purpose, I don't mind coming in. We speak on these subjects, but I got a lot more other interesting topics I'm going to introduce to the scene. Like what happened to the red, black, and green flag? Like why did it disappear and reemerge? I'm gonna get into that.
So with that said, I ain't had no breakfast. I gotta go get me some breakfast. My mind ain't even kicking on all cylinders.
Did you even brush your teeth, man?
Man, I ain't did a lot of stuff.
Hey, man, listen, it was nice talking to you guys, man. Good build.
We'll do part 2 whenever y'all want to get back together.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Peace to you, brothers, man.
If I got halitosis, ain't nobody in.
All right, peace.
Hell smelling it, but so with that said,
boy, you silly.